This is not too big, so. Okay, good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast number 759. Why are conservatives so media illiterate? Now, I don't know exactly what brand of conservatism Mr. Steve Shives is referring to. I know he's made videos like this before where he's attacking conservatives. I'm assuming it's conservatives in his part of the world where he lives, where they define conservatism as whatever. And that's great. So he's referring to what he knows, I guess. Conservatives can mean anything under the sun when you're talking about politics, especially depending where you live. And the other term, or the other part of the sentence I have a little problem with is the last part, which is media literacy or illiteracy. I still don't know after all these years or months, I think we just heard it recently from other YouTubers, what media literacy even is. And at first I thought, well, people who don't partake in media.
Didn't you study this?
Oh, geez. I studied video games and writing and art and just so many things when I was in college and university for years. And never did this phrase come up like, oh, you are not learned in the ways of cubism or like something specific. Oh, yeah, I don't know Rococo style art. You're right. I just don't know the artists behind it. So there would be a hole in our conversations because the media history person or the art history person or the music history person would have their own knowledge, and we'd be like, oh, okay, this is why we go to this person to learn. But I've never heard of it being a form of literacy, which to me sounds like you don't know how to read or you can't read certain things. And I'm like, okay, yeah, there are certain books I have problems reading, like Aristotle. He's a tough guy to read. There's lots of philosophers over the years based off the translation or based off the ideas or the spelling or the grammar. It's like, yeah, I can't get into Kant very easily. He's very hard to wrap your head around sometimes. So there's lots of philosophers, there's lots of artists, there's lots of people out there that I just don't get. That's true. So when this dude says, well, conservatives don't understand the art world, I'm like, yeah, most people don't understand the art world. That's normal. So what's the problem?
The whole thing is, this is a term that was defined or rather redefined or defined. I'm not sure yet. I thought I had an hour more to time today, but time zone changes happened. And I didn't do this last time either. But I did see the headlines. I have a window with like 15 tabs that all are about this topic.
Oh.
So, but to start off, this is a newly coined term in order to make certain people look stupid and certain people look intelligent. Of course, the people who have media literacy are the intelligent ones, the correct ones. And when I'm done with just reading the first introductory paragraph from the all-knowing and always correct Wikipedia, you will probably think, oh, this is the same as politically correct, which it is. So Wikipedia in its first paragraph says, media literacy is an expanded conceptualization of literacy that includes the ability to access and analyze media messages, as well as create, reflect, and so far this is just like image interpretation, like what is on the image, how are the elements interacting. And now comes the crucial part that differentiates this from any normal form of interpretation. And take action.
What?
Using the power of information and communication to make a difference in the world.
Wait. So you're saying people who, I don't know, look at the Mona Lisa, they want to go out and like what? Like go jump in the countryside and plant a garden? Like what is...
Well, that would be the nice version. No, what this is, because this is normal interpretation of images of literature in any way, and then it adds the whole take action, using power of information to make a difference in the world. That's a call to activism. That is, you see a thing, now you have to act on it to make the world better. How do you make the world better? Well, you need to know what is good and what is bad, which is taught by media literacy, which is the same SJW shit we've had these past decades, which means that, oh, the Mona Lisa is a smiling woman with a deep cutout, so she's anti-feminist, so we need to boycott the Mona Lisa.
Okay.
That's the logic here.
It's a bit strange.
Media literacy is agreeing with the woke.
Yeah, it sounds as if
being media illiterate is being against the woke. You just don't know what's good for you.
It sounds as if the media has to influence you to some political struggle that doesn't exist, or you have to invent some challenge to your life that doesn't. When media should be allowing you to express yourself in a very, I wouldn't say creative manner, but in a very personal way, which is there's the cathartic element, of course. There's the personal way to reflect on your life. And there's maybe the moral or ethic lesson that is in a story that you can get from most stories that they teach you, like, oh, maybe you should be nice to people, and that's how you get along and get a better life, and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's all these wonderful stories for kids that we get that from. So entertainment and teaching are the basis of media, whether it's a piece of artwork in the hanging up in a art museum or an art gallery, or it's a movie. And this is for self-reflection. This is to enjoyment with your friends and family. And if it causes you to join a political party, I think you're watching a documentary or a form of propaganda. It's not an actual piece of media in the sense of the classical sense of art. So I don't know. We're going to find out what Steve has to say. We are currently waiting for Cyrek. I don't know if he's going to pop in, but we'll find out.
To give you a little primer on how young this term is, in 2010, René Hobbs developed the AACRA model: access, analyze, create, reflect, and act. That's 2010.
Is that like...
This was yesterday.
Is that like start a webcomic about how bad conservatives are or something like that? Like, let's try to make memes for the left that work. It's like, nope, didn't work. Fail. So
media literacy programs may emphasize these components: critical thinking, I doubt it; creativity, advancing competencies through activities that involve creating, building, generating media content, often through collaboration. Okay. Yeah. Intercultural dialogue, practices of human communication, empathy, and social interaction, including those that challenge radicalization, violent extremism, and hate speech, and so on and so on. You have this suffused with the social justice propaganda through and through.
That's a big, loaded term these days, hate speech, and...
Yes, exactly.
It's
everything. Well, what's hate speech? Hate speech is everything that the socialism doesn't like.
Whatever the party in power doesn't like, yeah, pretty much.
All
right. Well, we're gonna get started. It's gonna be 15 minutes long with this video. Cyrek will pop in, I hope, soon, and we can get going. Is it longer than? Oh, it's longer than 15 minutes. It's slightly longer. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah. So just to shorten this, Steve, from the get-go, because you're probably not even watching this far, you were part of American atheism, which was captured by a political cult that acts like a religion. You are now falling for the definitions and the propaganda and are a useful flying monkey for that political religion. You're not an atheist. You solely found your actions, your opinions on belief. You're not a rational thinker.
I'm also...
Believe you are, because that's what this religion tells you, that it is not a religion, and that you are totally rationally thinking when you follow it.
I'm a little curious what that background image he's using. Is that like an actual workplace? Is that a NASA site? Like, what is all these screens?
That's certainly not his. He does have a lot of screens, but I doubt that this is his.
Yeah, I don't know why he needs more than 3, but it's like 20 around.
EVE Online. The answer is always EVE Online.
Okay, well, I'm sure he loves his space games too.
I would not say no to 9 screens.
Okie dokie.
Though I would stack him like a numpad.
You would have a wonderful power bill, but that's okay. Anyway, let us start the video. Oh, is there? No, we don't. Oh, we do have captions. Look out, Steve. You made captions. How good of you. Okay. Here we go.
At this point, it's practically an axiom that conservatives have poor media comprehension skills. Pretty much everyone other than conservatives acknowledge.
So, to translate, it's a known fact that conservatives disagree with socialist interpretations of reality. Now that we know what media literacy is, just agree with the agenda. Conservatives don't agree with the agenda.
This is as bad as when you first learn the definition of axiom and you learn about Ayn Rand and you're like, oh, that's what she believed? You're like, okay, well, I mean, if you think that's what happiness means, I guess that's good for you, miss, but I don't know about the rest of humanity.
It's a start. I mean, and Ayn Rand was mainly a big reaction to the horrors of socialism.
Oh, yeah.
So I think she mainly just went, I'll just do the opposite of everything these assholes wanted, which is, I think that's a good initial coping reaction.
If the world listened,
and then you course correct.
As crazy as she was, if the world followed her a bit more, yeah, we'd be less crazy, but we'd still be crazy. We have to like tone it down a bit. It's like, okay, and just lower it down. We get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's how humanity is or ever will.
Yeah, but when currently we are at a point where things would be better if we followed Ayn Rand, that says a lot.
Yeah,
that says a lot about the present.
The bar is so low. Ayn Rand would be an improvement. You're like, yep. Anyway. Wait, should we have to define what an axiom is? I think we all know it's a predisposed idea that's true, and you just run with it as a hypothesis. Is that good? We're good? Okay.
And I'd bet even a few of the sharper conservatives, I have no idea who they might be. I don't know of any, but surely there must be one or two out there, are embarrassed by how dense most of their ideological...
Is this guy just out of his league? Like, what is he... Oh, yeah, obviously there's conservatives who are embarrassed by other of them just like them who don't know.
And the intelligent ones would certainly agree with me.
Yeah, I'm the grand poobah, and I know what the dumb guys think, and that's why I'm over here, and these guys are dumb, and the slightly less dumb would be embarrassed by the more dummies. Like, what?
Steve, you sound like Ken Ham.
What is this ridiculous conversation you're having with yourself here, sir? Mr. I don't shave and I wear a hat? Like,
I think if he gets a little bit more gray in his beard, like a bit more symmetrical, it might even look good. He just needs to get rid of the neck fuzz nonsense.
You know, if you're going to come across as an intellectual, do everything in your power to look and sound like one. Like, don't wear a T-shirt. Don't look like that. Don't look like Steve Shives, essentially.
He's trying to subvert expectations.
Wear a suit. Sit down. Try to appear intellectual. Don't come off as saying there are dummies in the world.
The trying to appear intellectual, he's already covered that. That's what pseudo-intellectualism is.
This is so sad. Like, dude, this is not how you start a conversation about, you know what, there are dumb people in the world. They might be conservative and they don't like media or whatever. It's like, no. You start with your intellect, your knowledge, and then you maybe use stats to show others who aren't like you. For some reason, you want to show that you know stuff that no one else does. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe I am like you. I don't know. Maybe I am part of your demographic, and maybe we just don't know it. Maybe I could be your friend. Not, oh my God, you are a repulsive human being who thinks he's smarter than everyone else, and you're demonizing an entire group because their politics are different. This is not how you communicate.
And I wanted to give him props for acknowledging there might be smarter conservatives who are not just crazy idiots. And then he ruins it by saying, well, they would, of course, agree with me. They would be embarrassed by not agree with the socialist agenda that pretends, that simply claims to be that if you are for me, the socialism, then you are literate. If you are not, you are illiterate. If you are for me, you are correct, politically correct. If you are not, you are politically incorrect. Which is the same as religiously correct or incorrect, Steve. I'm surprised you never caught up on that.
If you don't read my books, you're an idiot. if you read other books, you're more of an idiot. It's like, what? Okay. Anyway.
Steve, you are not under the spell of your demon wife anymore. She is gone. You are free.
Was she his editor? So that she would be like, Steve, slow down.
She was a man-hating, scoffing feminist land whale.
Okay. Oh my God.
Who laughed about his statements on stream when she sat behind him on her computer.
Oh.
That's like it's an infamous clip.
This is getting. I'm just first 20 seconds. I'm already embarrassed for this guy. Like, did he ever go to university, sir, and listen to a lecture on anything in the arts, the entire body of the arts? And was there like some prick going, I'm a genius, you're all idiots, you don't know what I know, that's why I'm a professor? It's like, you would never hear that. You would never hear anyone say that. But okay, sure, Steve, you're the grand poobah of knowledge because you're not a conservative. Fair enough. Let's go.
Brethren, when it comes to understanding the books, TV shows,
books,
films, and
the books, all the books, just the books. Okay.
He's a Star Trek fan. I'm sure he read some Star Trek books.
Oh God, the Star Trek books. Oh, what a great entry to science fiction Star Trek novellas were. Oh, Steve, you genius reader, you. Oh my God.
Even the ones they like. In fact, at times it seems, especially the ones they like. I talk about Star Trek a lot on this channel, and I've done entire videos devoted to the baffling phenomenon of conservative Trekkies.
You mean there's people who like the same thing as you do and you disagree with them politically? Is that the big phenomenon you cannot wrap your small little brain around?
Yeah, I think he's confused that he cannot marry the idea that his axiom that conservative means racist. Therefore, conservative can't like Star Trek because there all the different races are working together cooperatively. Although that is the fucking idea of Christianity, they're united under one God and are compassionate towards each other beyond these stupid things. And I'm saying this, I'm not a Christian, and I understand that.
Wasn't there...
If you have these weird cults in America that do other stuff, these mega churches and these other scam things and these fapping for Jesus type sermons, that's not Christianity. That's all heresy. Everybody can see that. I don't need to be a Christian to understand that is not what was intended.
I'm trying to remember. I think it was called. It was in the original series of Star Trek. I think it was called Bread and Circuses. I could be wrong. Where there's a sun worshiper, like some alien race, and they believe in the sun, right? And all the people on the Enterprise are like, oh, they worship a star or whatever because they're scientists. It's like, no, the Son of God. We're like, what? They're pointing to Earth, to the solar system, where Jesus was born. I don't know if you guys remember that episode. So unless the liberals back then in Roddenberry's time were also religious nutbars, that was a really strange episode, but he let it go. So they believed in the same religion as America did, apparently, in the future. So there's plenty of beautiful stories in Star Trek, the original, and well, Next Generation, about religion, about politics, and none of it is discriminatory. None of it's like, oh, these guys are wrong, clearly. These guys are right. It's always two sides, both having points, and they have to find a compromise in diplomacy. That's always the case. It's never, you're completely wrong. You are completely irrational. You are so stupid. We're the smart Enterprise crew, and you're the dummy primitive aliens or something like that. Anyway.
May I expand on the term media literacy, just on the see also section, because it is brilliant. It begins with, so it's 7 terms. And the first one is see also critical literacy. Anytime you have the word critical before a word, except it is critical thinking, actual critical thinking. Anytime you have critical before a word, it means destruction, to replace with socialism. That is all this is. Critical race theory is a race theory harnessed by socialism in order to divide and conquer. Same with any other critical thing they come up. Critical, Critical environmentalism would be that. would be something like that. So, critical literacy, digital literacy, information and media literacy, intertextuality.
What?
Multiliteracy.
Nope.
Post-literate society.
What?
Transmediation.
All these words are, I don't know what they mean.
This is all communist gobbledygook. Steve, you are in a cult. You haven't realized it yet, because, like most cults, the communist socialist cult claims that it is not a cult.
Okay.
That's the entire trick.
We are not going to get through this video. We're already not even a minute through, and we're just like, oh my God, this is dumb.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm sure Steve is a smart man. He can do research on his own. He just needs to have the courage to do so. But here's your starting point.
Okay.
Reflect.
How? I am continually compelled to ask, can conservatives love a show that has spent...
Okay, you know what? I want to talk to this guy. He is completely baffled to the fact that people who are different than him, that he cannot wrap his brain around, can like the same. It's like, hey, Wisp, do you like Tai Doc Voy? Yeah, I like Tai Doc Voy, Smud. Oh, wow. That must mean you like the Chinese culture. It's like, I guess. I thought you hated the Chinese. Like, what do you... No, I just like the food. What are you talking? Like, this is the dumb mentality of this dude, that we can both eat or enjoy something that we're not accustomed to based off, I don't know, culture, ideology, that we can both enjoy and get along with. Like, what? Wow. Like, could he sit down at a Star Trek convention? I'm sure he's gone to some, and just say, hey, are you a conservative? Yeah. Wow. You like Star Trek too, huh? Why is that? Oh, the story is blah, 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 blah. And if he just left it at that, he'd have some friends. But no, didn't you know that conservatism is against the Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future? It's like, what are you talking about?
The thing with Steve is, and yes, Tyler, he is famous for, or infamous for, blocking everyone who's even a little bit critical of him. Still, even at the height of his SJW bullshit, when was probably a lot to do with his ex-wife, I never got the vibe that he is actually malicious. He is really just brainwashed. He wants to connect. He wants to do the right thing. And he's been told a garbage dogma on how to do that. And usually with those types of people being in the web of this whole propaganda network, they always look like they're in pain, because their brains cannot go all the way into doublethink. There's always cognitive dissonance. There's always some headache that's deep down going, something about this just isn't right.
I've noticed
somehow this isn't fluid.
I've noticed whenever we have interviews of people, like the actors come out to conventions, this has been all throughout the decades. Star Trek attracts everyone. The weirdest people, the people with learning disabilities, the perverts, like everyone comes out. So it attracts everyone that you would never think. And they give, like, I remember Brent Spiner was telling a story about a fan sent him a picture of what they thought the Tasha Yar love scene looked like in his imagination. He was just like, oh my God. Like, they painted a picture of this.
Painting.
A painting. They sent like, this is back in the 90s. Like, this is the weirdest shit the stuff you've heard. So Star Trek attracts everyone. It's not just one stripe of people. And it's for everyone. And that's the beauty of Star Trek or science fiction in general, as a theme or as a genre. There's so much to appreciate. There's so much to connect with. And it makes people feel happy and hopeful, which is great. So when I look at Steve, I see him as no different than anyone randomly I could pick apart in a convention who loves the same thing that everyone else loves. The difference is he's turned it into some quasi-religion associated with politics, as opposed to just a cool science fiction show on TV, which has seen better days. So,
and I'm really starting to think atheism, real atheism, real actual atheism, like really more of those happy adjectives. So genuine is another one. So real atheism is I think I believe at this point something akin to the Mahayana in Buddhism, in Hinduism, Buddhism, that is simply not for everyone. The Hinayana is the thing where you have tons of rules that tell you how to conduct yourself right. If you can't think for yourself, you don't have very good self-discipline. You can't figure things out right. That's what that's for. And I would say that is what religion is. You have this big framework that tells you how to conduct yourself right. And because some people need that, because they can't figure it out right for themselves. And the Mahayana is the thing where you have a bit more leeway. You don't need to follow every excruciating rule because you can actually think for yourself. And I think, Steve, you fall into, at least currently, you fall into the Hinayana bracket, which is why you need this outside the dogma of social justice, which is socialism, which is communism, to tell you how you are a good person and who the bad people are, which are the ones who don't agree with the dogma, which is exactly how a religion works, or at least a very, basic one that wants to draw lines between people in order to antagonize them.
Okay, we are not even a minute done, but we're almost there.
Yeah.
Nearly the last 60 years telling them that they are wrong, that their policies and beliefs are largely...
Oh my God. Who's doing this, dude? Are you doing... What? Okay, I'm going to keep going. This is going to take
magical fantasy world in his head.
Problems, and that society will only... It embraces things like diversity, inclusion, tolerance, equality, multiculturalism, and internationalism. Things...
Yeah, Steve, have you seen what's that been doing to Europe? Especially Iceland. Iceland is a wonderful example right now. Iceland is a tiny country. It's basically like a small city in Germany of 300,000 people. They have 600 police officers. And last year or 2 years ago, they imported 300 Muslims. Iceland was the most peaceful place ever. Iceland doesn't even have a military, because why the fuck would they need one? So, 600 policemen, 300 Muslims. Iceland has now stabbings and rapes. The most recent thing was a taxi driver who raped a 17-year-old girl. The guy was a Muslim. He got only 2 years for that. And it's not, these things have not been there before, Steve. Is this the multiculturalism you speak of? Do we just need to Steven Universe hug these people so that they stop being evil and rapey and stabby? That's not how that works, Steve. You don't get your Star Trek utopia with just letting the assholes do as they please and get away with it and destroy the societal level that we have achieved so far that is way closer to that than these people's cultures. Not all cultures are equal, Steve. In Haiti, the cannibals are on the loose again. Man, what the hell? Is that a culture to respect? Should we multiculturally build a utopia with that? Would you want a cannibal from Haiti on your Star Trek cruise ship? Or a stabby rapist Muslim on your cruise ship? Is that what you want? Because that's what you get. And I'm not sure that your crew at the end of the trek will look the same as it did before. And not in a positive way.
Okay. We are 1 minute and 13 seconds in. And this is not going to go any faster. So,
most conservatives vehemently despise. The answer, in many cases, seems to be that they interpret the show through their right-leaning worldview and see it as actually reflecting their own values. And
projection.
Though I think they are misinterpreting the show to the point of willful distortion.
Oh my!
If
projection.
you squint and tilt your head to the side, you can kind of see how they get there. Favorite conservative themes like individual liberty, militarism, and the inherent...
Don't you remember in the original series... Where
individualism is not on the left anymore.
Oh yeah, but don't you remember in I can't remember what episode, again, this is all these original episodes where they find the United States Constitution and the Neanderthalic community just can't read it properly. So Kirk has to go down there and read the goddamn Constitution to them. And it's like, what do you think? Do you think that's left leaning, sir? To come down to
well, it's not a socialist constitution.
It's like, it's Americanism. It's like, well, America, yeah, we're going to tell this alien, we're not breaking any rules. Like, oh, yes, you are, Kirk. You're breaking the freaking prime directive to tell people what was really happening with this piece of paper that you never understood. So, like, there's so many things happening in Star Trek. You can't just label it one way or the other. It's a little bit more complicated. Like, remember that episode with the black and the white guy, the last of the two races? And they're going to kill each other because, well, my face is black on the right and his is on the left. And you're like, and the Kirk's like, what the hell is this all about? Was
actually a good, that was a very ham-fisted but good allegory.
It was obvious. It's like, oh, I see what's going on. It's a racist episode. It's like, yeah. It's like, yeah.
Because these people are actually the same, because I would get confused who's who.
Because if we were to have a left-leaning author, they'd all make up and everyone would be happy and, oh, we'd feel bad that we killed each other off. No, they end up killing each other. They go off and kill each other.
Yeah, which is a much better message for us.
Yeah, it's a sad story. It's like, oh my God, this whole race killed themselves over differences, which is insane.
Yeah, and by the way, in order to build a good society, diversity isn't needed. You can have it with it, you can have it without it, but you must gatekeep properly so that you only get the good ones in and keep the bad ones out. Because guess what, Steve? Every people, every culture has its black sheep, and every culture has its white sheep. And maybe if we want to build a good society, we only let in the white sheep, and the black sheep can go starve in the desert.
All right.
How about that? Cyrek, what do you think?
How you doing?
What? Hold on. White sheep, black sheep, what?
Yeah, don't listen to Whisp. It's okay. It's all right.
I thought you liked the Bible allegories, metaphor things.
Sometimes.
Anyway, trying to listen to Steve is hard enough. I would not. It's kind of. It's just difficult. Anyway, we're at minute 45 seconds. I don't know how long this will last before your patience will wear out. I'm just like, oh my God.
That's projection yet again. You are the one who always wants to cop out.
No one's learning a thing today. We're just getting angry at this guy. We're like, oh my God.
I find it fascinating.
I know, but even if I were like this conservative fellow listening to this, I'd be like, what is this guy talking? Like, where is he coming from? Like, I'd be offended on behalf of conservatives for whatever he's bashing them for not liking or to like science fiction, just not the way that he likes it. I don't know. It's a weird argument he's trying to make. Anyway,
I want to know how I'm media literate.
I want to know too. Yeah.
Superiority of Western civilization, represented by the Federation, are certainly present in Star Trek, and conservative Trekkies have managed to convince themselves that those themes are actually what Star Trek is about, and tune out all of the progressives.
No, they don't. They watch the show like everyone else. They don't tune out parts of it. What is it?
And Steve, progressive is code word for socialist. They've said this back in the 50s. They decided this officially at party congresses. Maybe you should pay attention to the religion you're in and learn its history. Then you would realize that it is a religion you're in. It is a cult you're in. And that all these words you use are just code words. You know how the SJWs love to talk about, Nazi dog whistles everywhere? That itself is projection, because the people who use dog whistles all the time is the socialists. When they put a plus behind an organization they took over or built, that's the sign. Hey, here's progressives here, and progressive just means socialist, because the socialists after World War II especially realized that people got a bit scared of the whole socialism bit with the Soviets and the Nazis and all the shit we put in Weimar. Let's refer to ourselves as progressives. They played the same shit before. World War II, when they said, "Oh, let's not call ourselves communists anymore, but socialists." The terms were synonymous before, because people got scared of communism. So let's just call ourselves socialists. And then they started calling themselves, "Oh, we're just progressives. We're for progress. Progress is good, right?" And that's the trick they get you with. And woke, that's just a new version of it, the new iteration. Although that is a derogatory term we gave it. They then ran with it, I suppose. And then we'll get in 20 years, we'll get the next iteration with the next term, where they say, "Oh, weird, it's totally different. It's just like last time, but totally different."
All right.
We'll do the exact same policies that we did last century and this century. And hundreds of millions of people died again. But it's totally different this time.
Let us keep going.
Yeah.
Stuff. A recent tweet by film critic Darren Mooney, who writes for The Escapist, reminded me of another explanation. In the tweet, Mooney shares a screen grab of a tweet by an especially odious and typically clueless right-wing dipshit.
Hey, don't shit on Undoomed. He's the nicest person on YouTube.
Also, right-wing. Like, Undoomed doesn't really talk his own politics. He just calls out bad art.
Yeah. Also, he has real tranny friends. Contrary to you, who probably only has fetish friends. If you have any. If you even can call these friends. The problem with cults is that the relationships inside them are not real relationships. They are not real friendships. They're all based on agreeing to the agenda. The moment you don't, they all turn on you and start throwing stones and bottles. That is one of the reasons people are scared to get out of them. That's why some people are scared to get out of Antifa after they realize what a shit show that is.
Okay.
But yeah, shit on our good friend.
All right.
Who declares that he has recently rewatched every episode of Star Trek from the original series through
Why do you find it laughable that he rewatched Star Trek? Undoomed is a giant Star Trek fan and sci-fi in general.
So
he said interviews with several of the big names. James Earl Olmos is one of them. What's it, James?
Watching it
I'm bad with names.
Watching the entire series over a year is definitely doable. Like I've started watching the TOS, and I'm already up to episode 9 of season 2, and that's been about 2 months now. So it's doable.
And we've nerded out so much about Star Trek Babylon 5 and Stargate SG-1. You wouldn't believe it. Like 12 hours straight. It was just glorious. And here Steve laughs about him about Undoomed just
for watching a show.
Rewatching Star Trek?
It's so funny. He watched a show. It's like, yeah.
Why is that so unbelievable to you?
It's called streaming services. They're free. Unless you want to get TNG, it's kind of hard in your area, but the rest are easy to get.
I think the with the text that we see here, I agree with Undoomed. Star Trek is not political in its episodes. It's philosophical. And Steve, due to his indoctrination, conflates the two. Just like the left actively conflates patriotism and nationalism in order to slander patriotism so that people are never patriotic because nationalism is Nazi stuff, which is why patriotism is dead in Germany. Here they actually managed to go through with that redefinition and brainwashing of the public. That's why nobody dares to oppose them much.
All right,
and
let's keep going.
Here it's just Star Trek is philosophy. And philosophy is not the same as politics.
Determined that it only has a political message of those, and concluded, therefore, that actually it's not accurate to say that Star Trek is political, merely that Star Trek is sometimes political. Like I said, he's a dipshit. However, in this particular instance of his dipshittery,
unnecessary.
He demonstrates another answer to my question. How can conservatives be fans of Star Trek? very often it's not that they interpret it as being conservative too, it's that they interpret it as being apolitical.
So wait a second. Is Steve saying everything in everything is left-leaning politics in Star Trek?
I think he fell for the idea that everything he agrees with is political and therefore must be agreed with, and that in general everything is political, which is a lie that socialism peddles in order to politicize everything, to get a say in everything. That's its tyranny.
I try to remember the episode in TNG where Beverly Crusher is trapped in this temporal space bubble where she's walking around the ship and there's people disappear, and every time she talks to the ship or talks to Picard, it's like, no, we've always only had 500 people. We've always only had 300 people. We always only had 2. It's only been you and us, Beverly. What are you talking about? Like, it just kept happening and happening. It was just it was a science experiment from Wesley Crusher that went wrong, and she got trapped in it.
What a surprise.
It had nothing to do with politics. It had nothing to do with, love or romance or changing an alien life form. No, it's just she got trapped in a bubble and then you had to get out. That was it. Like, there's so many of those.
Also, having a political backdrop does not make something political. It just has what's it called? A jumping off point for the rest of the story.
Yeah, it's like Lord of the Rings, epic story. Yes, there are political elements, but the whole thing is not political. Like, there are certainly wars going on. There's strife going on. There's what do we do after this? Like, there's all kinds of issues. It's not purely political. There's all kinds of camaraderie. There's adventure, there's dragons, there's magic, there's all kinds of things. So we don't say, well, everything is a political struggle. It's like, no, that's stupid. That's not how writers write.
Yeah, that's when
me the politics of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh God. The thing is when politics claims to be everywhere, it is lying. Especially in regards to philosophy, because to illustrate the difference, philosophy, according to Aristoteles, exists to inform politics. It has to guide politics so that it doesn't do bullshit. It's the informing wisdom. For philosophy exists to map out objective reality. Politics, at worst, especially when it's captured by political cults, doesn't care about objective reality. And we know that socialism, especially, actively rejects the very idea that there is an objective reality. So it rejects philosophy as a whole. So anytime it pretends to be philosophy, it is not philosophy. It is its polar opposite. It is sophistry. And that is what we see in all the universities. And I'm sure if Crazy Philosopher was here, he could give us another anecdote of how that went when he was studying philosophy at university. Because there is no philosophy in Western universities anymore. It's only sophistry. It's been captured. The academy has been captured by those who are against the academy and now only use it as a tool for their own purposes.
All right.
And Steve fell for it.
We're at 3 minutes. I don't think we need to go any further than another few, but this is sad.
Painful. Now with the insult, it's painful.
It is. Okay, if you call someone stupid, that's you could argue that because there's something he doesn't comprehend or they missed, and you can correct that. That's great. You're teaching that person something, but you only say it once in a very neutral way. Now he's using like other swear words and mischaracterizing someone. Like now you're getting ad hominems, and this is like, okay, you are a child. You're a schoolyard bully, and you're sitting and you're scared of the other bullies, and you're calling them names from the corner because you can't stand up to them in an argument or whatever the case may be. In that analogy, this is silly.
And points out in his tweet, this is, to say the least, a facile and poorly informed take, extraordinarily so, given that it's in response to Star Trek, one of the most blatantly and inescapably progressive of all popular media franchises, but it provides a useful jumping off point
socialist.
For what I want to spend.
I want to know exactly what he means by progressive, because I could say all science fiction is progressive. It's in the future. Everything's far advanced, and we have all these different energy sources and aliens and blah blah blah. It's like that's not.
Yeah, by the naive definition, probably the correct pure original definition of the word, yes, all science fiction is progressive. But when he uses the word progressive, what he means is everything that advances the socialist agenda, which is all the more diversity, more equity. Steve, you said equality, but progressivism is about equity, and equity is the death of society.
Talking about, because
it's also anti-human rights.
When they watch Star Trek, they do it when they watch or read or listen.
MAGA heads and Bitcoin bros love Homelander memes, but they're turning on the show. This is so. Why would you read this article with a headline like that?
2022. That was probably during the airing of season 2 or 3, where it started getting more into things that did not actually have anything to do with
I refuse to believe her name is Rebecca Onion. That is the dumbest name we've what. Hey, Miss Onion, what do you do? Well, I write for Slate magazine. Like, yeah, sure you do. You're insane. Go away. This is not a real person. This is not someone you should listen to. Steve, do not ever post something like this from someone named Rebecca Onion. That is, you're just hurting yourself. And when you have a title and a subtitle like that, no, you don't get to tell me about MAGA heads and whatever the hell a Bitcoin bro is. This is
season
silly.
2 had major issues where at first it was taking jabs at the social justice ideology, and then later on did exactly the very things that it mocked. And I don't think that was a move of, oh, look how smart we are. No. That was just giving away that the makers of the show don't really know what they're doing.
Anyway, let's keep going. This is so silly. I don't know what he's going to possibly reference from this lady.
If you pay even a fraction of culture and politics that I do, you can probably think of at least one or two examples of right.
Steve, you don't. You only reside inside your own little safety bubble where everything agrees with your preconceived ideas and your brainwashed takes. You're not looking outside because you're scared of everything that contradicts your worldview, because the moment that thing breaks, you are completely alone and lost and do not know where to turn. And that is also what keeps people in not just cults, but abusive relationships. Because you are scared of the chaos outside if your worldview breaks, because then you have to rebuild a new one, a completely new one. So keep going.
Examples of right-wing politicians or commentators who are big fans of works and or artists that would seem to be incompatible with their worldview. Chris Christie is a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. Ted Cruz is a fan of Star Trek and The Simpsons. Paul Ryan loves Rage Against the Machine. How does that Okay, I just need to pause there for a minute, because right-wing Rage Against the Machine fans baffle me.
Well, the Race Against the Machine is now pro-establishment. Haven't you noticed, Steve?
So they're
now the machine. Race Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine has become the machine.
Is he seriously arguing that people can't enjoy different kinds of media because of their political stripe?
He thinks that if you like these media, you immediately have to switch to his opinions.
But I get it if you're a fan of Star Trek and you're obsessed with it, but now he's going music? Is he going to do food next? Like what's...
Yes.
Like fashion? What's next, Steve?
Yes.
They can't
his mind is so simplistic that it operates on the simple mechanic. If you like a thing I like, you also have to share my political views.
Like when I see an old woman...
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. You can't like my things without liking my political views.
When I see an old woman and they color their hair some whatever color, I don't assume they're left-leaning lunatics like you would downtown with young girls or younger women.
You can. You should.
Do you
think these women went hippies?
No, I just assume they wanted to try something new. They're old, and why the hell not? Lots of people do that at that age. So I don't make assumptions about a person's character based off how they look. That is called racism. You don't do that for obvious reasons.
Or I'd say prejudice at first, not racism outright.
You're describing someone's
racism is a special form of that.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, someone like Metallica. Oh no, he must be a Nazi, or some nonsense like that. This is ridiculous. This is offensive just to hear. How could you even deduce this way?
Even more than right-wing Trekkies. The lyrics of the lead single from Rage Against the Machine's debut album say, "Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses." What forces does Paul Ryan think they're talking about? The fucking G.I. Joe Ninja Force? In this case,
what?
I think the most likely explanation is
that
Paul Ryan was in his early 20s when that song, Killing in the Name, was first released. And as an Ayn Rand reading young...
Steve, are you insinuating that all Christians are KKK members who burn crosses? Are you thinking that extreme, that black and white? Are you that devoid of nuance?
I think we've no longer talking about fandoms and conservatism. This is
and things like that. No, he's just going on a political ramble at this point.
This is
venting.
This is like logic failure, day 1, hour 1, 10 minutes into the lecture, and I'm like, oh, I get logic now. I'm going to start using it. You're like, dude, we didn't even start the lecture. What are you talking?
He's still in the American atheist mindset of Christians are the enemy.
If political stripe is X and media content is Y, therefore you are lying. It does not compute. You just can't comprehend this association. This is so scary that he is not using basic critical thinking, or his worldview is so tiny and so bottled down that he cannot open it up and go, wait a second, there's a broader world out there than my mind can possibly perceive. Maybe I should talk to people different than me. And he won't do that, or he can't do that.
I think he can start by not talking and just sitting down and introspecting, meditating.
Well,
and then he can start.
Apparently he's on Twitter, so that's not a helpful sign.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can meditate and use Twitter.
No, I don't think so either.
Republican nerd with a chip on his shoulder about big government bossing him around. Ryan heard the line, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me," decided it was speaking for people like him, and never felt any need to revisit that interpretation for...
So what? There's entire songs that we don't remember, but we get that one verse or that one stanza, and it sticks out. And I don't know if you guys remember the Shakespearean, it's The 7 Seasons of Man. Have you ever heard of that before? It starts off, all the world is stage, and we're all but players in it. Everyone knows that one. That's the first part. It goes on for several more stanzas. I don't know what's the part of those stanzas because it's not as memorable. That's just how writing works. Sometimes a writer will make a very profound statement, and then he'll keep going on, and this happens to poets all the time, like Walt Whitman, very famous American poet. Great, amazing lines, and then the rest of all his other works, like T.S. Eliot, Hollow Men, fantastic lines. But you don't remember 80% of it because you just don't. They're not as memorable. That's normal. That is completely normal, sir.
And even within works, that is the case.
Yeah,
there are famous passages in the whole 300-page poem that is Faust. That are so memorable. They are or were taught in schools to learn by heart, but of course not the whole book.
Yeah, it's like saying, well, there's so many memorable lines in Hamlet, but there's also lots of other lines that aren't so memorable. Do you want me to memorize everything? No, of course not. And even if I do, it's not going to connect with me when Polonius hides behind the curtains. Like, is that like some amazing master stroke of writing? No, of course not. So this is, I don't know if this is nitpicking or Steve is an idiot for not understanding that writers are not like genius at every single sentence they compose together in their art or music.
I think Steve once was a naive fan and then has been radicalized by what he thought was right, but that only presented itself as right.
And even if Shakespeare, every line was gold, and like everyone who was a writer read Shakespeare, went everything, every paragraph, every chapter was perfect. That doesn't mean the general audience is going to know that. They're going to be like, oh, I like this line, that's good, and then the rest is like, meh. This happens every time, everywhere. It doesn't matter what, any media, any food, any dish, any music, anything. This is normal. Humans are not the same. We have different sensitivities. We connect to different people in different ways. This is a grade school, junior kindergarten thing. You would teach kids who don't know how to, like they're at, I don't know, recess, or they're bullying someone. It's like, what are you doing? That kid's just like you. You should learn to respect him because he's having the same day as you are, but now you've ruined it. We gotta fix that. You gotta learn to respect other people's spaces and opinions and tastes. It's very simple stuff.
You have to respect your bullying beating you up. That's just his culture.
Good God. Oh, this is so bad. I think I'm more offended by this in a humane way than we are of like those crazy fetishists, because at least we know exactly where they're coming from. Steve is just saying
the crazy fetishists are irrecoverable, irredeemable.
Well,
they're just broken minds.
They have extreme one thing where Steve is like, well, I think Star Trek is this way, and then I think politics is this way. I think everyone who's into politics of that stripe is that way, and it just keeps going and going, and you're just like, dude, this is not how this works. Like when we talk about people on the left or people in the liberal mindset, and we see the girl with the pink hair, and we're like, okay, we probably won't see eye to eye, and we start talking, everything's friendly, and then we just get into like basic stuff, and we're like, okay, and then everything becomes the same. It's like I've talked to a person like you for the past 20 years, and you're always the same. It's like, why can't we help the poor more? Why can't we give our money away more? Why can't we do? It's like, oh wow, you sound just like a socialist that I met like 15 years ago. And it's the same stuff because the mentality is the same. And we could do this for people who like certain kinds of media, like Star Wars in Episode 8. It's like, oh, you're one of those guys who like Rian Johnson and his work. And it's like, oh, and then it just keeps going and going. It's all the same. And I hate to say that because I don't like saying that individuals are monoliths unto others just like them. But it connects. Oh, your political ideology is that. Oh, really? I didn't expect that. Like it gets redundant. So
I would add to what I said previously. What this ideology does specifically is appeal to the ego. It's always an appeal to the ego. And that is why it invents terms like media literacy. You are correct and you are literate when you agree with us. When you don't agree with us, you are dumb and you are wrong. That is what it does, Steve. It gives you an excuse to feel intelligent for simply agreeing with something that you never even thought through. It's just emotions. It's not the rational mind.
All right.
It's not thinking.
We're going to go for another 2 minutes and, see how much better this gets.
See, you want to call for an end.
Well, we could skip around, but this is so bad. Like this,
I know.
This is not even.
I know. He shot himself in the foot already.
Which makes sense more broadly speaking as well. Strong aversions to intellectual curiosity and self-reflection are hallmarks of conservative thinking.
Wait a second.
Again, a projection.
We're saying
socialism is ego. It requires that you do not self-reflect.
Because
if you do, your ego starts to dwindle.
If you're a conservative, you do not self-reflect. I've never heard that before.
Complete projection.
It's the ultimate projection.
Apparently.
Lyric?
I said, I guess I never self-reflect.
We're just never looking in the mirror. We're just gung-ho. We know what we want, and then we never think about it ever again. Really.
Yeah, look, and Steve, we have the data. Socialism, all these woke SJWs with their funny hair, especially the females, have narcissistic personality disorder. That goes hand in hand with socialism, with social justice, with the woke, with the progressive movement, whatever it calls itself today or tomorrow. Narcissistic personality disorder goes hand in hand with it because that is what it appeals to and how it can recruit so-called useful idiots. People who do not understand, who do not think, who only feel and do what the dogma tells them, because the dogma also gives them excuses to be assholes to other people, namely those outside the ideology. That is what this is. That is what fascism is, by the way, in large quantities.
All right. Okay. Here we go.
Thinking potentially explains how a Republican and lifelong New Jerseyan like Chris Christie can be an outspoken and devoted lover of the music of revered New Jersey hero Springsteen, music which frequently gives voice to the poor, the marginalized.
He does power ballads. It's all kinds of things. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Cyrek, conservatives don't care about the poor?
Untrue. The highest charity givers are conservative and Christian.
Yeah, but you're not doing it through the state. You don't demand that the state forcibly takes away money from all of the people to give it to some other people of the month.
Yeah, because we don't trust the government to give money to the poor.
Hell no.
There's Ginga.
Oh, hey, Ginga.
Steve, I grew up in a very progressive country. It even called itself democratic, but it was just the People's Republic, which is where the people don't have anything to say. It just means the party rules. That was shit. That's why we don't trust the government, because your whole ideology sucks. It only builds hellscapes. It only sells you, it only baits you with this stolen candy into its creepy van.
Okay. All right. 5 minutes and a half, and this is every sentence hurts. Like we're just like, oh God.
Uh-huh. Well, at least Steve talks, contrary to the last guy we covered.
Okay, fair.
You remember the guy who didn't say anything?
Yeah, that nothing happened.
Was it the guy we banned?
The guy who's trying to say that EFAP was anti-art, or what does that even mean? Like, he just described what that meant. And
yeah, we blacklisted him.
Yeah, sadly. Well, no, not sadly.
Sadly?
Not sadly. How dare you?
Sad as it was so bad we had to.
I was hoping for
there
something.
Are people so bad.
I wanted something from him that we could. Like, what is he talking about? Why? How could EFAP be anti-art? What does that even mean? It's like nothing. It's just, why are they like that? Did they even watch this? Like, okay, dude, this is
not once did he talk about it at all. Not a single word.
Not helpful. And it was mostly just him just staring at the screen. So, anyway,
organized chaos, more like organized retardation.
5.5. We're gonna go again. I said 1.5 minutes. So here we go.
Immigrant. Working class, all regular targets of rhetorical, economic, and often
all targets of the lies and exploitation and pretentiousness of progressives. When has socialism, social democracy, whatever it calls itself, ever kept its promises to the working class? We have folk songs about the social democrats always betraying us. That was written by a leftist, by the way, that song. It's like, the crazy thing is that leftists are astonishing at pointing out, wait, my political side totally screws me and betrays me and exploits me, but they're still good in it, so I will continue voting for it. I don't think there's any other ideology that accomplishes that madness.
All right.
No, Steve, it has done the same with women. With immigrants, with black people, with the gays, with the trans. It's all lies, Steve. These people do not speak for us. They only pretend to. They only bring us harm. In the latter case,
violence at the hands of conservatives. Hell, Born in the USA, one of Springsteen's most iconic songs, is about how a Vietnam vet can't find a job in the hollowed out, trickle-down economy of Ronald Reagan's America. Meanwhile, in 2011, Chris Christie gave a speech at the Reagan Library where he said that his favorite story from the Reagan presidency was the time Reagan fired thousands of air traffic controllers. That's okay, Chris. Lots of people don't listen to the lyrics. Apparently. But
what is he talking? What? How did he equate a song with when Reagan fired a bloated bureaucrat? Like what? Steve, what are you talking about?
He made those people poor. They were funded by tax money. Steve, do you know that tax money has to be earned by someone who's not part of the state?
I remember back in, was it late 70s or early 80s, a story of McCon, who is a guy who buys up businesses and cleans them up. One of them was the airlines, and he went to all these subsidiaries of the airline saying, what are you doing? What is your job to make the airline better? And they gave this some, they're basically what we had with Twitter before Elon came, and they're just there to fill a seat. And that was a cleanup from the private market. So whether Reagan does it or a private enterprise does it, cutting the fat is normal and a natural thing to do, whether it's a household or a giant bureaucracy. Like, what's wrong with? And how does that equate to Bruce Springsteen? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, now 90% of the Twitter staff, which are now fired, cannot live a bourgeois lifestyle anymore and make all these socialist fights against the bourgeoisie, which is themselves.
Remember that silly video of that girl walking into Twitter and what her day is like? Like she goes and gets a smoothie, and then she sits in a meeting, and then she goes and gets lunch, and then sits in a meeting, and she just nothing.
Then she goes into the quiet room to relax.
It was like the weirdest. Like, this is your day. You do zero work. Like, this is retarded. And then, like, a month later, that's when Elon buys Twitter. It's great.
Yeah. Well, it's the most obvious thing of, hey, if I buy that, I can make it profitable just by firing all of these weirdos.
Well.
All you need to do.
Overpriced, anyway.
At first, at least.
It doesn't work in all cases. Not every instance of a right-winger epic...
Oh, the most important thing, I believe, that Ronald Reagan said, or at least the most memorable thing, was his speech about the most dangerous words you will ever hear. I come from the government, and I'm here to help you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here's a super chat from Threadnought. Thank you, sir. Charity is voluntary. What these weirdos demand is mandatory theft. Okay, from anyone fortunate enough to have a little extra. Referring to taxation, yeah. My taxes are going up next month, which is fun because, carbon is evil, and we got to curb our carbon footprint by taxing us. That'll somehow decrease our carbon usage. I don't know. Maybe Canada knows something the rest of the universe doesn't know. We don't know.
But you also have to fund these children euthanasia projects that your government is doing.
Yeah, well, it's lucky that winter is slowly going away, or else it was pretty cold last month. But
here in Germany, the Green Party is now mowing down a virgin forest of 160,000 trees for the environment.
Oh, really? That's
yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Beautiful story.
Great progressivism, Steve.
Okay, let's just keep going.
Missing the point of a creative work can be chalked up to them imprinting on it when they were young. For example, earlier this year, Ben Shapiro, right-wing podcaster and professional know-it-all twerp, was roundly and rightly mocked for his expert analysis of the almost universally acclaimed third episode of HBO.
Almost universally, yeah. Dude, this is going to go bad.
Universally by whom?
This is going to go bad. Here we go.
So Ben is a douche and a liar, but that episode was bad.
Its focus away from the series leads, Joel and Ellie, to tell the story of Bill and Frank, two men who find each other and build a life together in the midst of the post-fungal zombie apocalypse.
And they will have no children.
And they'll die.
Alone.
And they're not even truly canonical.
Probably eaten by zombies.
World series takes place. It's funny, it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, it's exquisitely written and shot and acted. It's one of the best episodes of any TV show.
And it's complete. And it's no, oh god.
The best.
Betrayal.
The best.
Steve, I know your wife was horrible, but you don't have to become gay.
This is the strangest. So this is a guy a fan of Star Trek.
He's already a cuck.
He's saying that episode was one of the best ever.
No, I think he said the best.
Oh, let me
My ass.
He can't have watched a lot of TV.
It's beautiful. It's
Mud, what the hell? What?
It's exquisitely written and shot and acted. It's
one of the best episodes of any TV show. So he's comparing it to Breaking Bad. He's comparing it to all the Star Trek. He's comparing it to all the Babylon 5.
Okay, just within Star Trek, have you heard of an episode called In the Pale Moonlight?
Yes.
Oh,
at least that one.
Oh. You know the bottle episode of where Sheridan is interrogated in this psycho manner, this psycho prison? That is prime writing and acting.
There's all kinds of
and that also has a sense of message.
Even the past 10 years, there's been some fantastic, not streamed necessarily, but just fantastic writing. I say Breaking Bad. There's a bunch of that. Even the episode with Ryan Johnson, which he directed, not wrote, was exceptional. I think it was called Ozymandias.
That's still too much.
No. Ozymandias apparently was this hugely important TV or streaming show episode for TV as a whole. There's Hannibal. There's all these other horrific horror stories and franchises out there. But he thinks that one episode of two tertiary characters in the game, I can't remember. I don't even think one appeared on screen.
Not even tertiary.
Yeah, I don't even know what they were. And one of them was referred to being gay in a notebook or something. So why they focused on that, I don't know. It wasn't important.
It's the type of story where you get one guy did love the other, but you don't know whether the other was actually returning the feelings or even gay. So it could have all just been projection.
From a diary, yeah.
Yeah. And to waste an entire episode on this fan fiction filler in a series where you have, what was it, 6 episodes? Is insane. And then you get the episode with the commie village, where communism magically works in the post-apocalypse, where they have energy, where they have food, where they are somehow safe from the zombies in the zombie apocalypse. And now communism somehow works. What the fuck? Steve, you're in a cult.
All right. Here's
Wake
Nick
up.
Gurr. Thank you, Nick Gurr. Episode 3 is the worst episode of a terrible show, The Last of Us. Bill is character assassinated through and through. I'm here to watch The Last of Us, not the anal prolapse of us. If I wanted to watch two dudes kiss, I'd ask Steve and his wife to kiss.
Yeah.
Well, let's not twist the knife,
Also,
shall we?
We said the best episode in all of television?
One of the best.
Okay, Steve, have you heard of Heart of Ice? That's another one.
But that's a cartoon.
Yeah, fuck off with that.
The Measure of Man. There's so many excellent shows in Star Trek, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, but they were a bit more memorable than some random side characters in a video game spin-off adaptation to live action. It's just, that's a weird thing to say, Steve.
The episode with Londo and his wives is leagues ahead of this stuff.
And that was even connected to the main plot, but that they shoehorned that one in to make it work. So
everything is, every little detail, nook and cranny in Babylon 5 is connected to the main plot.
Anyway, okay.
You only realize this after rewatching 2 or 3 times. Then you're like, whoa.
We're at the 7-minute mark. I'm going to skip ahead because this is. I mean, if I had a less aggressive mentality, I just laughing. Oh, this guy's a goofball. Whatever. He doesn't understand. I'll just keep it. But no, this is really just ignorance and stupidity and bias.
Is it weird that every time Babylon 5 is mentioned and I'm in the conversation, I feel just that little bit more shame?
Well, you can watch it.
Okay, I'll watch it with you.
You can.
Have an excuse to rewatch it again.
You can get it on Tubi.
I'm just saying for that. But
I think it's still on Tubi. There's other free apps out there you can probably watch it. It's been syndicated and translated for so long that.
But do you have the 16:9 version?
The original, you mean? Or is that the remastered version? I can't remember what version that was. It's a bit, yeah. Obviously, you'll get the subtitles with the new remastered version, but it still holds up even with 800 by 600. So,
it's 4:3 on Tubi. I just checked.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah. Well, then we must watch the 16:9 together.
Well, I guess we're not watching it on Tubi.
I will carry that burden and watch it again.
Okay. Anyway, we're going to skip to the...
You don't have to, but...
What is this?
I am sacrificing myself.
12 minutes?
Completely voluntary.
I just want to know what else is in there because it's so silly. Okay, here we go.
Let's see.
12 minutes.
Fox News-style right-wing pundit Rosenberg references a 2009 study by researchers at Ohio State, which found that conservative viewers of the Colbert Report were more likely to believe that Colbert was not giving a satirical performance, but actually meant the often outrageous things he said. The article also references a similar phenomenon from a previous generation.
Steve, he does. He presents the thing, and then he makes a joke about it. And then it turns out that's what he left actually believes and wants to happen.
Kimmel's another example, and he's sometimes worse.
Yeah, or John Oliver. It's all the same stuff, really.
Yep.
The family, and the fact that much more likely to miss the point that we're not meant to agree with Archie Bunker's reactionary right-wing opinion.
He's not a reactionary. What are you talking about?
Oh my!
A reactionary is everyone who is not a socialist.
Everyone I knew growing up knew that Archie was in the wrong for a lot of things, but he was the most entertaining character.
Yeah, I had friends of the family who wanted to watch. It wasn't the last episode. It was like it was some sort of like people came back to reminisce or whatever, and they're like, "Okay, you got to leave. We got to watch this show. So good night." I was like, "Oh, okay," all in the family. So that's how important this show was to people and how entertaining. There were some weird episodes. I remember watching some about some guy who forced himself into the house and only Miss Bunker was there. And he was going to rape her or something. It was like this weird episode. Like, what is this guy doing? And she ends up throwing the baked cake in his face and just running out screaming in this funny way. So there's a lot of big... I mean, what's his name? Who was that actor, that tap dancer / singer of the Rat Pack? Sammy Davis. He was on the show. So there's all these wonderful celebrities popping in and dealing with these issues, and they don't shy away from. So, yeah, he's supposed to play the bigot. That's the point. No one was unaware of that. Anyway.
To find them ridiculous and unduly fair. With All in the Family, it's a bit more excusable than with the Colbert Report, because even though he's a fool and his conservative beliefs are frequently the butt of the joke, Archie Bunker is not a one-dimensional character. He is a reactionary and a bigot, but he is also humanized both by the writing of the show and by the remarkable performance.
Yeah, but the writing makes him a bigot and a conservative, so the writing also helps him? Like what? So is it the conservatism that helps him? Is it the fact that he's a bigot that helps him? What are you talking about?
On the other side of the bigot that is, for example, prejudiced against differently looking people from other places that turn out to be actually good people, which are one type of such people. The contrary to that is the left-wing progressive fool who insists that all of them are good people, while the conservative bigot believes all of them are bad ones. So he leans on the better err on rejecting them so that I don't get one of the bad ones into my family or close to my family, while the progressive fool errs on, oh, they must all be good ones. I need to give all of them chances. Oh, why is my town now full of rapes and murders? That's the problem. The left refuses to filter, and the too conservative, filters too hard. I'd rather err on the conservative who filters too hard, to be honest. Preferably, I'm in the middle of that and have a gate with a watchman who properly filters so that only the good ones get in and the bad ones can stay out. That would be the best solution. But I'd rather err on the one who is overprotective in that instance.
Here's the thread nut one more time for the super chat. Thank you, sir. The Great Divide is the best episode in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Steve Shives, probably.
Is that? I forget. Is that...
Yeah, you're gonna have to. That was a while ago. Does anyone remember that episode?
Are you referring to the original show or the live action one?
The Last Airbender is the original show.
Has to be the original, yeah.
But I do not know episode names.
Yeah, it's been a while, so... The gang arrives at the Great Divide, the world's largest canyon. 2 Earth Kingdom tribes bicker with each other about how to cross the canyon, having been enemies for a century. Aang helps them cross the canyon together and is able to end the feud by fabricating a story about their ancestors. Okay.
Oh! Yeah, I image searched it. Now I remember.
Okay. We're going to keep going.
Of Carol O'Connor. The creators of All in the Family, one of my favorite shows. At its best, it was better than any other show that's ever been on television, I think. Don't want us to respect Archie's political beliefs and opinions, but they...
Everything Steve likes is the bestest thing ever. He sounds like Gordon Ramsay in MasterChef. This is the most difficultest thing in MasterChef we have ever done.
So that means he's okay with having bigots and racists and slavers and all these other negative things that he's against in shows. That's good, because that's how you showcase those elements, by seeing what they do, and obviously in this case it's in an entertaining way that makes you laugh. But is it okay if it's drama, if it's depicted as real, and this is how it was? Like, is that okay, Steve? Can we have bigots and racists and murderers and all these other bad things? If so, then great. We'll watch shows together and we'll appreciate them. But because it's a comedy, he might be like, oh, he's a joke, he's a clown. It's like, no. He's the blunt of a lot of jokes, though. That's fine.
Empathize with him as a human being. If you're a conservative and you watch a show like that with the assumption that most people see the world the way you do, for you, empathizing with Archie will automatically include respecting his beliefs because you share those beliefs. And it doesn't occur to you that the show is challenging you or mocking you for those beliefs. I would file that as an explanation, but not an excuse. The second factor is a more basic observation, and it's that a lot of folks with a conservative...
I would like to ask Steve the question. Is there anything progressivism and social justice or whatever you think you believe in is wrong about or has been wrong about? And what could it be wrong about in the future? Is there such a thing, or is any critique of that just bigoted reactionary hatred?
Maybe
shallow people and
I was going to say maybe not understanding how to balance a checkbook would be probably number one.
I was also going to say it's like liking a character because they align with what I believe in. In the DCAU, Green Arrow is an admitted leftist, and yet he's still one of the best characters in that fucking show.
Because he's not a complete communist.
Exactly.
He's just there for a little man.
You have failed this city. I'm going to shoot you with an arrow now. It's okay. Is that his line?
It's more like Green Arrow believes to be a leftist without understanding what that ideology and this completely I would even say manipulative idea of this two sides, two-party thing is.
I wasn't referring to the DCAU.
Because there's way more than that.
I was referring to the Arrowverse, I believe. Okay, anyway.
Well, I meant the DCAU.
Consequently, they have shallow, obvious interpretations of the media they consume. They don't watch movies or TV shows or read books. Or
really? They don't watch
about what? He'll finish this with an about what he means.
I'll give him a chance.
He doesn't mean everything. Because if some conservatives don't watch anything, that would be very strange.
That's how we start the sentence. I'm like, whoa.
I know.
Grammar.
Listen to music in ways that allow for depth.
Oh, they're listening to music wrong.
Only me, who is left wing, who is a socialist, can be smart. People who are not cannot be smart, or they would think like me.
It's a Patrick Willems quote. Only he's talking about everything, not just media.
Steve, you sound like a Christian radical with a broom up his ass who believes that everyone who does not share his exact version of Christianity is a devil worshipper. That's the exact same mechanic, the exact same logic you use here.
If you want
just with I'm intelligent.
No, this is worse. If we're all in the same religion, we all go to church on Sundays, we listen to the Bible or whatever. Only I understand the Bible. You don't. You just pick apart what you like. I listen to everything and I know what it means. And you only like this or that. You don't know the nuance of what is in. It's like, Jesus, dude, how smart are you? Like, I got to listen to this guy more often about, everything. Like, just not just Star Trek, but like life. He's gonna.
Steve, do yourself a favor and don't just read Star Trek novels.
Yeah, no, he's gonna
read the Greek philosophers.
He's gonna teach me about how to cook and how to eat and how to exercise, how to woo a woman, how to pay my taxes.
Yeah, Steve will. Yeah.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah. He's like, he knows everything. Every media, every piece of music, every art, every movie, books of all kinds. He knows them all. I'll just listen to Steve all the time.
He can read people like books. He does read people like books.
They are.
He looks at their covers.
every person is like one of the shows he's watched, and he can go, oh, that's just like Riker. Oh, that's just like this guy. Like my Star Trek novel, just like that guy. He knows them all. He's seen the world.
Oh dear.
It's because they don't see the world that in flat, simple, clearly delineated terms. The world.
What do you mean by clearly delineated terms, sir? That conservatives can't do what you can. Like, you don't just say they're delineated and go, well, they just can't do it. Like, what do you mean? Like, he's using words that have no context. Like, what are you talking about?
He thinks that all conservatives are very simple-minded when obviously not the case.
Like, does he expect that conservatives they need, like, I am character X and I believe in XYZ and I am only this kind of character and there's no twists and turns, there's no mystery. It's like Star Trek has lots of mystery. Star Trek has all kinds of twists and turns. You don't know what's going to happen next, and sometimes it's dumb and sometimes it's cool.
And sometimes Worf turns into a bug.
Oh, yeah. Or he opens up a series of universes that pop open, and it's like,
I love that.
I hated that.
Or he gets a pimple.
That was so dumb. It was cool.
Or that one time he got a pimple.
Yeah. in the movies when Riker and Troy get married, yeah, that was weird.
The marriage was after the pimple was Insurrection.
I thought they got married in Insurrection.
Did they?
Yeah.
I still believe the movies are their own universe.
They are scary. Yeah,
universe.
The movies are their own beasts.
Everybody acts different.
Yeah.
Only 5 is its own universe. Everything else stays.
Okay.
No, Picard never acts like
a
him.
Conservative worldview is a series of binaries.
Really?
Right and wrong, good and evil,
that's
true
transphobic.
And false, male and female, win and lose, us and them. That's why someone like Ben Shapiro.
So Is he
Who's calling everyone who's not a progressive a reactionary, Steve?
So is he dealing in absolutes here? Is that what Steven is doing?
He is. And he can shoot at Ben Shapiro all the time. I mean, half the time you will hit the bullseye. That's not difficult. He's low-hanging fruit, Steve. But man, you are rotting on the ground right now. You're turning into alcohol.
Yeah, so
and an elephant will pick you up to get drunk.
We who are, or in Steve's eyes, maybe conservatives, only see things in black and white. There's no nuance. There's no mystery. There's no gray. There's nothing. You're either one way or the other, which is ironic because when we talk to people who are not conservative, that's how they tend to see us or others. They're either part of their group or they're not. So, oh dear.
Hero can be unimpressed by a work like Long, Long Time, an episode of a zombie show that doesn't have any zombies and which is connected to the larger story of the series.
No, it's not.
Why does the zombie show not have any zombies?
That show where the two gay guys are together has nothing to do with the rest of the story. They're just in the first game and that's it. Where's
the fucking apocalypse? That's the most irrelevant apocalypse that has ever apocalypse.
One of them was a sub boss, I thought, or a boss with it's the one that what's her name finally kills a guy with a knife. Ellie finally kills. Is that one of the characters? I'm trying to remember who this guy was in the game. And she finally, stabs this dude. Oh, it's been a while since I've seen that clip. I can't remember. But yeah, it was the one moment where she finally decides to kill a dude. So yeah, that could be important if they showcase that in the show. I don't think they have. But what is the relevance of that? Like, do we need to know the backstory of the guy who Ellie just kills for the sake of survival? Who happens to be gay? I mean, who cares? There's a need for flashbacks. There's a need for backstory when you want to flesh out a character for a specific reason. But if you're just going to kill him off, I don't know if that's dramatic enough for you to care. Like, oh, I care about this character. Oh, and Ellie had to kill him. But I like Ellie, so it's okay. You're like, oh, all right. Well, let's just keep going then. Like, you can do that with all your conflicts if they're personified. You have another episode. Oh, there's something blocking the way. Flashback. Who is this person? Da 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 da. Oh, he had a puppy. That's really sad. The puppy died. Then they had a girl. The girl died. Oh, they lost their family. This is all they have left. And then Ellie kills him. Oh. Is that the formula they're going to go with? Because that's happened a lot. I've seen that in anime a lot with Jujutsu Kaisen. Every time a new character is introduced, backstory. Who is this guy? What's his power? Oh, this is his conflict he went through. This is his backstory. And then they do the thing, and then he dies. Oh, my God. Or sometimes they die, and then they do the backstory. So is that the way the show works? I don't know. But it seems irrelevant to do that.
Yeah. To talk about the topic that Steve doesn't talk about, as to what media literacy even is the title of a paper from 2007 by Kellner and Douglas. Critical Media Literacy, Democracy, and the Reconstruction of Education. Totally doesn't sound scary.
Nah.
Or 2010 by Hobbes. Empowerment and Protection, Complementary Strategies for Digital and Media Literacy in the United States. This is all just call me gobbledygook, Steve.
All right. Well, we got a few more minutes left. We'll finish it off, and I can get back to making a video. So that'd be good.
And character and foreshadowing rather than simply being part of the literal linear progression of the plot.
Wait. So you're reducing the tastes or whatever you want to call media literacy of the conservatives as someone who just wants the logical understanding of plot progression. Really? How did you even come to that deduction, Steve? What are you talking about? There's many elements of appreciating a story, like the lore and whether the lore makes sense. Then there's the plot that the characters are following, their own desires, whether it's a fun show to watch, whether it's genre. is being hit? Like all the reasons you watch a show, like a science fiction show, does it have spaceships? Does it have things in the future? Like all the elements you watch the show for? There's all kinds of reasons. But he's saying, no, get rid of all that. The only thing conservatives care for is the logical plot. Whether it is logical or not, apparently. That is, I'm not even sure how he came to that. Like, what about conservatism wants logic? I mean, it's fascinating to think that. Like, the people I disagree with are logical. It's like, okay. And they're only logical. It's like, okay, that's weird, but sure. Does that imply that you don't care about the plot, Steve? Or you care about everything else and the plot? Like, what does this mean? Because plot is pretty universal. It has nothing to do with, what political ideology you got. It's a very weird thing to say. I've never heard that. Anyway.
Receiving, understanding, and appreciating those elements requires curiosity and imagination and interpretation, and conservatism does not teach people to develop or value such qualities.
This guy is out to lunch. What?
I was going to say Tolkien.
So if you're a religious person, you're a writer, you have no imagination, you have no interpretation of themes, so you can't have like a story with multiple layers that have two or more meanings. I just don't know.
All of the stuff that wasn't infested by socialist gobbledygook never existed.
I mean, how many authors?
The whole video game scene, for fuck's sake.
How many authors for millennia, like Homer and Cicero? Do you think they weren't religious in ancient Rome or ancient Greece? If you weren't religious, they looked at you weird. You're like, wait a second, you don't believe in the gods?
Well, they didn't agree with the dialectic sophists, which is what Steve has become. He has fallen for that nonsense.
Yeah, there's all these forces brought against Socrates for not believing in the gods. They killed the guy because of his influence.
And then they lamented it because they realized, oh, fuck, that guy was actually good.
Yeah, the reasons they brought him were pretty silly, but one of them was he didn't believe in the gods. Like, oh, I don't know. This is weird. I mean, I guess all the great inventors, the scientists, Newton, the majority of Newton's works were religious. You guys didn't know that. He wrote maybe 10% of his books were on science. The rest were all on religion. That no one.
Yeah,
read.
and then because that was the only way to make money, he got contracted to make gold.
Oh God, yeah.
And then died from the the fumes of the alchemical experiments.
Yeah, it's just
slowly killed him over the years.
To attack people for being conservative or religious or whatever that he doesn't like, and all the great works of fiction that we have, is very short-sighted, Steve. I say that people that we usually cover can't see beyond their nose. He can't see behind his eyelids. Like it's just this millimeter of space is blinding him. When he closes his eyes, he goes, "Oh, yeah, that's how the world is." Oh, okay.
Joe Crazy the Chat gave a good summary of the Bill character situation from The Last of Us. The story of Bill in the game was that he was some crazy paranoid dude that owes Joel a favor. His is crazy, never trust a soul was what pushed his partner Frank away, which led to his demise. Partner in quotation marks. Who knows?
Yeah.
From what I remember from the note, it didn't really read that the other one was gay. It's just that you could interpret it that way, but you could have been just driven away by the advances as well. Who knows? Some people kill because they get rejected. So maybe it was one of those stories. It's the good thing about leaving these things open-ended. There's an uneasy creepiness to them.
Okay. Anyway, being a conservative means you're all these closed-minded things, apparently.
someone like Ian Miles Chong
God.
can get to be whatever the fuck age he is. I'm going to guess at least mid to late 40s without realizing that RoboCop, one of the most noted, influential, and obvious satires of 1980s popular cinema, is political. Of course.
Not really. It's anti-corruption. That's it. That's not... Being anti-corruption is not political in itself. Being anti-corruption is virtuous. It can be, which can come out of religion. It can come out of philosophy.
Yeah.
But if you make it political, that means you have policy, and you stand for a policy for that. Basically, all that RoboCop does is he reinforces the virtues of society. That is not a political act.
There is the element of corporatism for sure, but that's...
Yes, Ginga?
I remember the tweet where Anthony Gramulio said that he was anti-cop.
What?
To which I said, how is he anti-cop when he is the law? He says it himself.
He said RoboCop was anti-cop?
Gramulio said it was anti-cop, and my response is, how can he be when RoboCop himself says that he is the law?
He restores virtue. He defeats corruption. That is the point. That is what a good cop is. That is the most pro-cop message you can send. If you are a cop, be this cop.
That's why he proclaims himself as the law. That's why that line is so iconic.
You can say the same about Judge Dredd, which is a very, very extreme type of story. But Judge Dredd seeks to be just, truly just. While there is corruption in his forces, he cleans those up as well.
This is an issue.
At worst, Judge Dredd. At worst, the absolute worst thing you could say about Judge Dredd in terms of RoboCop. At worst, they follow in the same general direction in regards to the law.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around what Steve is having a problem with here, because it sounds as if he's not understanding nuance. And you could say, yes, there is some political messaging in some regard to RoboCop, the first film, but that was never the intention. And this is what we talked about. Was it Villeneuve? What's this guy's name? The director of the same guy who did RoboCop is the same guy who did Verhoeven. Thank you. There we go. He makes these films for fun. Like, he thinks it'll be fun, and he has this one intention, but he ends up not doing that, and the film becomes awesome because it's so entertaining. Not because of the political messaging, because he screwed that up in Starship Troopers, but because it's just fun to watch. And
accidentally amazing movie.
Yeah, and that's what
he does. That's what he does.
You
can keep doing that for all I care, because keep failing at your intended message. The stuff that comes out is amazing in every way.
Yeah, so I'm sure the theme of corporatism is there, but that doesn't make it a political movie. That just has an element of, they're living in a society that's crime-ridden. Obviously, that's part of humanity, and it's this dystopian concept of the future, and that's great. But that's not what the movie's really about.
And if Steve would look really deep into the ideology that he's fallen for, he'd realize that corporatism is the very thing that it creates.
Yeah, I would argue if RoboCop was 51% all political, corruptive, like making deals behind the scenes with politicians and having the politician trying to push a piece of legislature, and there's all this gerrymandering behind this, like all this like stuff that would happen in a corrupt political environment, and that was the message of the film, and like 20% of it was action, and then 10% of it was slapstick or whatever the rest of RoboCop was, then you could make the argument, well, look, most of this content is a bunch of politicians arguing with lobbyists to get this giant hulking death machine through our streets so we can, preserve whatever. It's like, oh, okay, now I see what you mean. But that's not what RoboCop's about. That's like a small little element, and we like the boardroom meetings and then RoboCop at the ending. But no, dude, like what if there's one scene in a film, does that make the entire film about that one scene? Of course not. Steve, this is about media comprehension, right?
I think that would be the uncorrupted term, media comprehension.
Well, I mean,
media literacy is the corrupt term.
It's like watching a 90-minute soccer match, and 80% of it's a soccer match, and then 20% of it is the guy streaking, and then a bunch of other people start streaking. Like, oh, that was a streaking match. It's like, well, no, 20% of it was streaking because all these people went crazy, and 80% was the actual match. So you could call it the streaking match because it's never happened before in that regard, in that capacity, and that's a cool name to give it. But it doesn't encapsulate the majority of what the content of the show was, which was a soccer match. So I think that Steve is, when he says, "Oh, look, here's a political thing," everything's political. The whole thing becomes political when he knows better, and he's not that stupid. But he's saying it in such a way that it's like, oh, no, Star Trek has always been political. It's like, no.
The problem with political... yeah, Ginga?
X to doubt on what you just said about Steve. Seriously.
I'm trying to give him some humanity. I don't know.
I'll give him back this bit that he is capable of more. So he was capable of more once. The thing with ideological possession, or any cult possession, is that it makes you stupid. Because it puts shackles on your mind. It forces you to only look through this distorting lens in this one direction and from this one angle. It makes you dumb. It forces you to be dumb because otherwise it can't work. And then it makes you cling to this internal consistency.
That seems to be what Steve is implying. Yeah. But just because he believes he's correct, and maybe he is correct in some, I don't know, some policy.
Broken clock.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what ideology he has. He obviously believes in it and says, okay, I found some truth here. The conservatives or whomever don't believe in that, therefore they're wrong. And it's like, fine, whatever that policy might be. But then he goes, the next step is like, well, if this is right, everything must be right. And you're like, what? But then he extends that even further to media. And you're like, but then he extends that even further to the mentality of people who disagree with him, saying, well, if they don't believe in all the truths I believe, they must believe in all the falsehoods that are contrary to what I believe. It's like, Steve, what do you, like, this is the dumbest.
It's almost like his framework turned him into a prejudiced bigot.
Well, there's a lack of critical thinking. It's like, dude, can you just take a step back from your nose hairs and just like, okay, take a breath and go, wait a second, what is really happening here? What's reality telling me? As opposed
those nose hairs are probably pretty long at this point.
And that is the goal of all this critical media, critical environment, critical gender, blah, critical this, critical that. It is all to remove you from critical thinking. This is the same trick that this ideology does with other words. It sits so hard on every term that it tries to claim it. Like the term critical is now something that only the left can do. And therefore, some people may not even look at critical thinking anymore because, well, that sounds like the other critical nonsense stuffs. So let's not look into it, which is exactly what, again, serves the ideologues, because if you don't learn how to critically think, then you cannot ever question anything.
Okay. Well, we're almost done, and it's going to take us another 20 minutes, but okay, here we go.
There'll be 2 minutes of crazy this time.
He didn't. He's a simple-minded person with a simple-minded concept of the world and a simple-minded appreciation of art. None of this is unique to conservatives. I want to make sure I acknowledge...
Wait. None of this is unique to conservatives, and yet the title is "Why Are Conservatives So Media Illiterate?"
No. I think this is one of these specs where the original uncorrupted Steve shines through.
Oh yeah,
that he understands. Oh, it's more. There's more than just conservative. That's flawed.
Really?
There are good ones, even though that is now twisted into that the only good ones are the ones who agree with me. So I don't understand why they're still conservatives. But it's still there. The little bit good faith in him is still there.
Is this the not all Scotsmen fallacy he certainly read about like 20 years ago?
And used to boredom.
He's like, wait a second, I could be overextending my definitions here of what I meant by everyone. Not all people.
Maybe some of the interaction with those logical fallacies from his atheism days are still there.
Maybe.
And they may just protect the last vestiges of his rational mind.
Yeah, well, we can only hope.
That's almost always the response. Reflection, projection, accusations of hypocrisy. Oh, conservatives think in terms of simple binaries, but you're saying conservatives have poor media comprehension and progressives are great at it. Sure sounds like a simple binary to me.
You literally said that 2 minutes, or what is it?
You did that for 20 minutes, Steve. With insults, justifying insults.
So he's aware of what he's saying, and now he's trying to clean his own ass. This is great. This is. I know I made a mistake, but I have a defense. Like, oh, really? Okay.
That's not what I'm saying. Operating from faulty assumptions, resisting challenges to our beliefs and values, viewing the world in simplistic terms that don't represent reality but make us more comfortable. We're all susceptible to those things. We're all guilty of those things to a certain degree. But people who subscribe to conservative ways of thinking seem more susceptible.
So wait a second. You're just saying the same thing.
More projection.
Everyone can do this, but the conservatives are really bad at it. Like, what? This is... So, I'm not wrong.
The level of projection in this video is unbelievable.
I'm not wrong. I'm just more right. Like, what are you talking about?
He could feel Silicon Valley with that projection energy.
You could have at least left it as everyone is guilty of this, and that would have been at least a little better. No, you still had to take another jab at the conservatives.
That's what he did at the
ideology.
So all he did was take the bell curve and skew it further up. He's like, oh, look, here it is. The standard deviation is really not as big. Yeah, everyone's part of it, but it's really big on the one side, but really short on the other. It's like, really, Steve? Okay.
Enlightened midwittism.
This is so silly. It's like people who are like this are just as bad as I described, but they're more bad. You're like, okay.
Oh, boy.
We're all dumb, but they're really dumb.
This is just as bad as the damn Dr. Skipper video on Godzilla where he said, no bias, and then immediately said that the vast majority of the Godzilla movies suck. Yeah. No bias, man.
There were about, 10 videos that were all covering that guy, half of which figured out that script must have been AI generated.
I'm convinced with how many of... with how many responses to that video I have gone out of my way to see in the past week, I'm convinced of that now. Because there are so many people that know full well what they're talking about with Godzilla and all the other crap he spewed. It has to be an AI generated at this point. I'm convinced.
Yeah, Steve. The only way to have a chance at correctly identifying and calling out projection is when you start with self-reflection. Because you have to figure out, where are you projecting anything? Where are your flaws? And I don't see that you have done any of that. You need to sit down and passively watch your thoughts. Passively. Don't interact with them. Just let them pass. That is what meditation is. You need to meditate. And just like that, nothing fancy, no weird Sam Harris shit, that's fraudulent. You just sit down and reflect yourself. And you do this every day for a month. And then you will hate yourself. And then you will come out of that. And you will hate yourself because you realize how silly you were all these years.
Okay. Anyway, we're almost done.
I think the factors I've been describing contribute to that. Holding a more tolerant, open-minded worldview doesn't make you immune to those factors. Progressives can be oblivious too. Things go over the heads of progressives, too. We're not always as sharp as we'd like to be. And though I find it very difficult to...
It seems as if intelligence has nothing to do with your political ideology, Steve.
Yeah, because you don't sound like you're just saying words. You don't believe in these. Otherwise, you would not have said all of these things you've said before in this video.
It's like if you go to a university or college that teaches media, and there's lots of media programs, you would know more about media regardless of what political ideology you believe in.
Yeah, what Steve is doing here is what we call a fig leaf. After doing all of these atrocious, horrible things, he puts on a little fig leaf on the classical painting to hide the genitals so that we can show the Garden Eden to children.
It doesn't matter if you do it before, you're like, I'm wiping my ass before I take a dump, or you do it after. You're still taking a dump, and we're just waiting for it to happen. In this case, it's egregious because it came at us so fast. In the first 20 seconds, we're like, oh my God. And then only now, till the 17-minute mark, he's like, well, you know, some people are just as bad as conservatives. Just conservatives are the worst. You're like, oh, thanks, Steve.
I would not want to be in a room with somebody who only wipes his ass before he takes a dump.
Well, at least he is declaring.
Who the hell does that?
He's declaring, by the way, I'm going to take a really big dump. Just so you know. It's like, oh, shit. Okay.
It's the same people that put the milk before the cereal.
That at least makes a bit more sense.
No, it doesn't.
You
For me,
can
it
use
does.
it to regulate how much cereal you eat.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're a minute left. I don't know what to say. It's terrifying.
Except, and I'm still not convinced it's actually true, that even includes me.
I can't believe I'm an idiot. I don't believe I'm an idiot, but I could be. It's like, Steve.
Fig leaf.
Steve,
if you're that open, if you truly mean that,
that is
have
like
a conversation, and we don't need to record this. But have a conversation with some people who got out of all of this crap.
This is egoism at its finest. I'm looking in the mirror. I know I'm perfect because I'm looking at myself and I say, you're perfect, but I might not be. I just don't believe it. I just think I'm
pure virtue signaling.
Like, this is the weirdest. Like, Steve, are you?
He says the words because they make him look better.
Are you?
Whatever you're gonna call him, yes, he is.
Are you? Like, can you talk to people? And do you talk to them and think they're human? Like, are you above them? It's like, oh, I shall now talk to the grocery store clerk to buy my groceries, even though he's an ignoramus and working for minimum wage at the grocery store. It's like, Steve, chill out. He's just a person like you trying to get by. You are
He's worse.
flawed.
He's worse than the goddamn Riddler.
He's a nice guy.
He's worse than the literal weaponized autism, and Riddler has an ego that stretches to the high heavens.
Yeah,
weaponized autism is a force for good. Weaponized narcissism is a force for evil.
What you do in, let's just bring it back to Socrates. In that method he uses, he says, I do not know. He is telling the audience, or he's telling the person he's talking to, I'm an ignoramus. Now he's kidding. He's not actually stupid, Mr. Socrates, but he's giving the person he's talking to the opportunity to enlighten him, saying, what do you know? Because I do not know, and I want you to enlighten me with your knowledge so that we can talk. Steve is going, I'm perfect. I might not be. I'm not convinced I'm not perfect, but I think I'm perfect. Because of his, I don't know, ideology. What is it? What is this guy even?
No, nobody's perfect.
What is he known for aside from his bizarre rambles about politics? I don't even know what he's good at. Is Star Trek talking? Does he interpret the shows in a different way? Like, what is he known for? I don't know. He likes space? Like, what does he do?
He likes Star Trek stuff. He read Star Trek novels on stream.
Really? Which ones?
I
Imzadi,
found them very compelling.
Devil's Heart, Q Squared. There's all kinds. I've read a few when I was a kid, but I can't remember them all. And that was in between classes. That was just for fun. I had nothing better to do.
Well, good for you.
These were shitty science fiction novels.
Steve, did you read books in school because in between classes because you were bored? Because this is the cool nerds club.
Yeah, we
I read Shogun in school because it was so boring.
We did the stuff in school, like the Chrysalids, the Kill a Mockingbird, like all the basic stuff.
No, not the stuff that's on the school curriculum.
Oh, okay.
Just things for yourself.
Yeah, this was just like, it was in the library. I thought, oh, that's weird. What the hell is a Star Trek novella doing in the library? I may as well pick it up and try it. And the covers are goofy, and you're like, all right, whatever. And you're like, I'll just share through this in like an afternoon. It's like, this is easy. So no, that's not hard reading. It's not good science fiction. It's all just, I like Picard. I'm going to write a Star Trek novel. It's like, okay, they'll pay you to do that.
Yeah,
that's it.
Surprisingly mainstreamish.
Anyway, 1 minute left, as we said.
Curiosity, thoughtfulness, a willingness to challenge yourself and question your assumptions, valuing and nurturing those qualities in yourself won't guarantee that you'll never miss the point of a movie or a TV show or a book or a song, but it will make it a lot less likely that you'll ever do something as embarrassing as attempting to dunk on someone for thinking RoboCop is political.
All Ian Miles Chung did is say, I do not believe RoboCop is political, or how is RoboCop political? He even asked a question, like, what was that tweet? I don't remember what he wrote, but it was one sentence. He wasn't dunking on anyone.
Yeah, the whole problem that Steve has is that he has a complete miscomprehension of what the term political means, because he's using the socialist definition, which tries to politicize everything so that it can control everything. Steve, that is not what political means. You are brainwashed simply by having the wrong definitions put in your head. That's why you believe media literacy is a great guide. It is not. It is not a good framework to judge media by. It is only a way to give a politically correct interpretation and support and attack. That's all it is. It's a tool. It's a political tool.
The statement was, I bet you think RoboCop is political, in double quotes. That was his statement. Replying to Anthony Nash, whoever that is.
Could only imagine if Ian had encountered a Gramulia's tweet about him being anti-cop.
All right, 30 seconds.
Dear Lord.
Or say something as staggeringly asinine as, actually, Star Trek isn't political very often.
It isn't, dude. What are you talking about?
It really is not.
That's just fact.
It's called philosophy, Steve.
And yes, politics is part of philosophy, but it's not all the content of Star Trek, because Star Trek deals with the fantastical in the future, and the imagination of the writer is greater than their political imagination or their political meanderings to just only talk about that in their stories. That's silly.
Yeah. Good politics can be the product of philosophy. Good science fiction is effectively philosophy. Philosophy in science fiction does not tell you what to think. It usually leaves you with an open ending and to judge the story by itself. The Orwell does this perfectly. That is true science fiction. If it was politics, it would tell you at the end what to think and feel. It would be verbose about that. It would tell you, you must make this conclusion from this story or you are wrong. And that is what you do, Steve.
Yeah, that's why we have Brave New World, 1984 as the two big dystopian future world stories about...
Which the left always try to tell us is about the Nazis, when it isn't.
But what if we go too far with our tech and our control? What happens? Oh, we lose society. We lose our morals. We lose our humanity.
Yep.
All these socialist policies that are already in place or are sought to be in place by socialist and non-socialist countries lead to this every time. maybe those policies are bad, and maybe there are red flags of what not to do and what people not to listen to.
Anyway.
Sorry?
I was gonna say I can name 2 of my favorite Star Trek original series. One is not political, and one is kind of, and that's Bread and Circuses and the Omega Glory.
I referenced Bread and Circuses, but when you weren't here, I think. And
oh man,
yeah, tell me about it, because I try to remember what I said, but
Bread and Circuses is one of my favorite because it shows just how much the morality system of the Federation is built on the Christian principles, because they go to this world that is Rome in modern day with gladiator fights televised, and they're constantly being told, oh, but we have the sun is with us.
Yep.
And at the very end, they're like, oh, they didn't mean the literal sun, they meant like the Son of God.
Yes, that was it. That was the point I wanted to bring up, is that they all thought it was the star. And they meant Christianity. Like, oh, well, Steve, I guess there's a little bit of Catholicism in Star Trek, huh?
Yeah.
And then
on that note,
Glory is they recite the preamble of the Constitution.
Yeah.
In it.
Yeah, very American, pro-American. That was the whole joke with how many times Kirk broke the Prime Directive. He's like, wait a second, this isn't breaking the Prime Directive. We got to teach them how to read. Like, okay. So he has to read, because they were slurring they never learned how to read English, so he has to read out the Constitution preamble. It's like, okay, all right, we're Americans. We're making this show. We're American. Okay, that was great. Anyway,
yeah, to everyone. Not else, just everyone. On this note, get a copy, or maybe you find something online, the book by Yevgeny Zamyatin called We. It was the predecessor to all the dystopian novels that came later, that nobody really mentions. But
not easy to read.
Oh, no. Well, I think it's a good foundational work.
I would say read 1984 first,
Yeah.
Then read the other one I mentioned by. Sorry, my brain is going off.
Huxley.
Thank you. Read that one. And then read We, because then you'd be like, oh, this, because there was an argument between Huxley and We, was that whether or not they're, because they had the same concept with Soma, and I try and remember the names they used. But yeah, you're right. That if you're really into dystopian stories and where it came from, that is a good idea. But in general, I would not recommend that.
Pity.
The translation's not very good, honestly. Maybe I got a different book at the time.
Yeah, that may be a reason. Like the English translation of Stanislav Lem is also terrible.
Yeah. So if you are into reading, and if you are into dystopian, the novel We is, yeah, it's up there with the three the things you should read. But no, it's a tough to wrap your brain around. Again, translation, I don't know what English.
A Russian author.
Yeah,
they write difficult language.
Yeah, it's the same with what was it, Ayn Rand's dystopian one, where everyone was named after a number, and it was just like this weird.
Trying
to remember.
Was that Anthem?
Oh, it was. I think you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I read Anthem after listening, showing that my musical taste here. After listening to Rush's 2112 all the way through, because they got the story for the song 2112, which is a 20-minute song, from reading Ayn Rand's Anthem.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, let's not read too much of that. It gets you depressed when you reread these stories. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's the actual warning about all the socialist stuff, all the stuff that Steve naively is pushing, that he believes is good because every cult makes you believe that it's only there to do good and bring good for the world. Steve, those really bad Germans from last century, they believed that. Well, they believed they were saving the world.
There's lots of war and political style games out there that are fun to play, and the messages are good. I remember Triangle Strategy a few years ago. Yeah, that had a political message. It had one about racism as well. But it's presented in a way that you want to learn, because there's branching paths. There's all these great tactics, Final Fantasy style gameplay, beautiful music, great sprite work, good class progression, all the good stuff you want in a tactics game. But it had all this political messages as well. Obviously, you're leading an army. There's marriage. There's racism with lower classes, and religion. It has all kinds of stuff going. And that was a few years ago. And then we have Unicorn Overlord that just came out, which also has a slight, it's more of an usurper story. But there's always going to be a political message in war. So it doesn't matter what game you play, whether it's futuristic, whether it's a first person.
Well, war can't exist without politics.
Yeah.
That's the one I would give you.
Yeah. So, yeah, get out of the gaming world for a bit, read the originals, and you'll see where these ideas can come from, and you'll see just how vapid or reductive these gaming stuff. Because when I talk about Unicorn Overlord, fantastic game, but it's like taking an element from Three Houses, and it's like, yeah, the Three Houses did it better. It's taking this element from Ogre Battle, but yeah, Ogre Battle did it better. Like, there's all these elements that it's doing. So nowadays, if you've never played Ogre Battle from the 90s, this game's brilliant. If you've never played, was it Dragons? What's Vanillaware's most popular game? Dragon Force? Dragon's Crown. If you've never played Dragon's Crown, and, amazing animation, Odin Sphere, amazing animation, beautiful. But
still want to play that.
Yeah, I know. So it's like, yeah, I love Unicorn Overlord, but you have to know where it came from other Vanillaware games, and where that was inspired by, which is Ogre Battle. And then we talk about politics, and we talk about who does it best, who tells the better political story. Anyway.
And then there's Tactics Ogre.
Then there's the 64 version. Yeah, people like that one too. I haven't touched the 64 version, but the Let Us Clean Together, I like playing. So the politics of that is cool. It's not great, but does a very good job for what it is. Yeah, it can't just all be gaming. It has to get some books in there too. Anyway, let's continue. We're almost done. Legacy for the super chat. Thank you, sir. Fact of the day: art in one definition means to make. So when people say art is political, what they really mean to make political, that's a good interpretation. Art back in the day, I think in the Greco style, was to make via design. So you're designing and making something. It's not just a painting, although the painting did have a function. It's to make something functional. So you're designing and you're building and you're using. So there's something artistic about creativity. You're making a thing like a tool, like a chair, and there is artistic element to it.
There was also in the in Greek art in the ancient world, there was also more substance in it, which you can see getting lost when the Romans began adapting it. And that is a topic in itself. It's very interesting that maybe I'll get my ass up to make something about that, because it's a nice predecessor to seeing the commodification and the fall of something important. In short, the Romans missed the point of the Greek statues of gods.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
Just used them as ornaments.
It's kind of funny. My friend actually studied ancient Rome, and he says all the great inspiration came from Greece, which is kind of funny.
Yeah,
when you look at their religions and their politics, and not so much their armies. Their armies were kind of their own crazy beast. But yeah, no, it's everything great from Rome came from Greece. Anyway, 20 seconds.
What else can help with that? Paying attention. I rewatched all the episodes, and it's
Listen
only
to
political
yourself,
15% of the time. Okay, now pull your head out of your ass.
Yeah, okay, we're done.
Yep. Steve, listen to yourself.
That's just sad.
Pathetic.
So what if it's 15 or 20 or 25%? Who cares if you got the numbers right or wrong? It's he watched them all. That's what
Steve, get the definitions out of the ass of the false definers.
All right. We got
the
some
best way I
memes.
can put
We're going to
it
have some good
off the cuff.
time. It
Starting
is...
with Mark.
What? Did I miss something?
I am gonna have to head out before the memes start, though.
All right.
Okay.
Editing supper.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right, have fun with that.
We will see you.
Later, guys.
See you.
Have a good time.
There we go.
Further up, further up, further up.
Media Literacy Award, Certificate of Media Literacy. Thank you.
Yes.
That does look like Steve.
That's a very well-drawn NPC meme. So
He does look like Steve.
you gotta shave, though. I don't know why these guys all have beards.
Nick Beardia.
Media and information literacy, reinforcing human rights, countering radicalization and extremism through media?
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, this is the example picture on Wikipedia with all this corporate art style bullshit.
Yeah.
That also looks like the Eye of the Right just looks like our pop culture detective. It's just fucking socialist propaganda.
I thought you meant Big Brother, but yeah, same idea. With Mr.
The same
Pop
art
Culture.
style.
Yeah. All right, Smud, I know you have your problems with Dragon Age 2, but do you agree with these reappraisals of the characters? Oh, this is going to take some time. Oh my god.
You've just posted 4 chunks of text, Rotor.
We got Anders, Meryl.
These are not memes.
I will read this later, but I'm always entertained to see what people reinterpret these characters as.
Rotom, this is the stream memes section and stream memes channel.
Literally, Smud less than a minute in.
I think all of us.
Yes. That is good. That is a meme.
Team Bug. Media literacy is when you agree with the author? So smart. Anyway, you should check out this book I found. Bad Guy, Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf.
Dear God. When Steve Shives says anything, we used to kill people with hammers for saying things like that. Media literacy, good luck convincing the guys at the re-education center about that. How I wake up knowing my enemies are ontologically evil, and there is no act against them which is wrong.
Uh-huh.
Is that the it's okay to punch a Nazi thing? Something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Please be patient. I have media literacy. If this was animated, that'd be perfect because the hat would stay in one place and her head would keep spinning. Not gonna lie, Wisp, a cannibal as a crew member on Star Trek might be pretty awesome. That was an episode of the first season, I believe.
It wasn't it in Voyager?
No,
it was just a psychopath, pseudo non-empath from Deanna Troy's race.
What? It was
Forgot the name.
It was
so long ago.
It was an episode of TNG. There were 2 delegates factions, and one of them apparently ate the other. One of the others.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I vaguely remember.
Yeah, they were weird looking aliens. He'd basically be Queequeg in space. Really? I don't know about that. Possibly. Again, there are stories of cannibals in science fiction. Every episode, not every episode, but every series has something like it.
I remember Betazoid. I knew I had it.
Was it Farscape that had that, or was it? Trying to remember the other.
Had what?
The cannibals. It was like a pirate faction, but they were cannibals.
Oh no, that was Firefly.
Yes, thank you.
The Reavers?
Yeah, they had this weird ship that had like razors on it or some stupid design.
Yeah, that was Firefly.
Yeah. Media literacy. Fascists bad. Doing a space racism. Doing a propaganda. Doing a militarism. That's okay. Good. Okay, brown people good? The frickin' bugs?
Yeah, they're brown, so they're good people.
Being ugly and disgusting, wholesome. Doing an anti-colonialism. They eat.
Yeah, they eat the Mormon colonists.
Doing communism. Okay. All right.
Oh, I just realized the Wojak here on the side. Whoever made that paid attention and gave him short-sighted glasses that distort the face. That's detail to attention.
It's only one lens.
Wow, are you right? Shit.
I know. There's something really wrong with this guy.
Spud with Cyrek, do you agree with this complaint about Star Trek? Again, I'm not going to read that. But...
Later. Again, not a meme. Going on.
Political message, women bad. What is that from?
At least TOS.
Is it the original? Yeah, I was thinking the Outer Limits. It could be.
Looks like TOS.
Yeah, it could be TOS. OMG, media literacy is dead. You're idolizing the bad guy. They are evil.
They look cool.
And if we look at the characters that the media literate socialist justice warriors have written, those were the bad guys every time. Narcissistic psychopaths who love to punish people for their own gain. Every time. Disgusting.
It's hard to see, but the good guys have bananas and the bad guys have military outfits. Interesting. The faces I make when Steve Shives shows up.
Yeah.
I don't know. This guy puts his face out there, talks about how bad conservatives are because they're hypocrites for liking Star Trek. It's the silliest thing.
I don't want the other guys to like my things. That's the childish notion. That's that.
Congratulations, you are being rescued. Please do not resist.
That's the best character in that fucking movie, I swear.
Yep.
The Reagan Foundation, A Time for Choosing. Hands down the best.
Later.
That's a video, probably very long.
That's the speech. That's with the speech about government coming to help.
Okay, order a man to hand over his child to the state, not while I'm his captain. Okay, I remember that episode. Steve, the Bill episode is one of the best episodes of every show ever, right? Wisp, Steve, I know your wife left you, but that doesn't mean you have to be gay. Okay, Wisp said that.
I did say that.
Can you call it or something? That
what?
That is that a reference to No Country for Old Men? I don't know. It might be. Mr. Worf, villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot. Those who clothe themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged.
Yeah, it is No Country for Old Men. It's what is that? I don't know if that's Beavis or I think it's Butthead cosplaying as Chigurh.
Yeah, I just don't know what I don't know what the sentence means.
Me neither, but it is No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. So one of the characters in the show is a lesbian, but this show is the best show. Okay, well, this is a big sentence, guys. So.
What a dumb poster.
The Haunting of Hill House.
Just the name is like, what the fuck?
The poster is dumb as hell.
The poster's even worse, yeah. The hell? What are they thinking?
When you're the first to fall
what is this? Art students first semester? I'm totally creative doing this. Haha, lol.
But you're the first to fall asleep at a sleepover.
Abusing you into Utopia for 200 plus. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. 200 is a bit short, but yeah, that's the most recent.
That's the general idea, yeah.
Yeah.
Now pull your finger out, Susie, and let Spock smell it. Oh,
okay. Okay.
That's a weird one. Republican convention inside. We want what's worse for everyone. We're just plain evil. Democratic convention inside. We hate life and ourselves. We can't govern. Okay. Everything I like is the best thing ever and agrees with me. Yeah. Liberal versus conservative. Lives rent-free, pays the rent, eats for free, buys the food, sleeps in Archie's bed, pays all the bills, sleep with Archie's daughter. There's Mr. Meathead. Dwayne the Spock Johnson.
Jesus.
Steve Shives in a nutshell. That's a cute opinion. Did a YouTuber give it to you?
Did a YouTuber give it to you?
Oh no! Why is this person here?
Nightmares from a smut's past.
Okay, so we're connecting.
Smudcast past.
We're connecting that one episode where he finds a piece of luggage from Sammy Davis in the back of his cab, and he calls they call the cab agency, and he has it come on and get it. And Archie asks him, when you because he's Archie, doesn't give a shit. When you kiss the guys on stage, like, is that something you like to do? Are you gay or something? He has something like so stupid like that. And Sammy goes, first Sammy looks at the camera and goes like, what? And then he goes, actually, it's in my contract. He goes, oh, okay. And then right before he leaves, he kisses him goodbye. And then Archie's stunned for like 10 seconds, and he goes, well, it's in his contract anyway. He has this weird way of describing what happened. So
the thing is, though, she would say this.
Oh, I didn't read this. Every leftist weirdo ever, Archie Bunker is a closet homo. Oh God.
She would say that.
Yeah.
Let's be perfectly honest with ourselves.
What do Saddam Hussein and General Custer have in common? They were both wondering where all those damn tomahawks were coming from.
Where are they?
Oh, that's jeez. That's good. Jeez, would you look at that? A man who accidentally left 300,000 guns for the Taliban to use is lecturing me on gun control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Archie
and
Bunker,
helicopters.
Archie Bunker on Democrats. If you liberals keep getting your way, we're all going to hear one big loud flush. The sound of the US of A going straight down the toilet.
Yeah, well, that's the goal of them. They want to rule the ashes.
Listen up, meathead. College graduates nowadays are not the most educated. They are the most indoctrinated. I don't think he said that.
No, but that's true, though.
All right, here we go. Whisp, Oliver Queen knows the difference between him and idiots like this.
Of course.
True leftist, classical liberal. Wannabe
it's
leftist.
not a one. No, the one on the right is not a wannabe. That's a useful idiot. That is the actual socialism. That is what leads the left. That is why you can say, oh, Green Arrow is the true leftist, really. As much as you want, he's the exception that will be shot by the guys on the right who outnumber everyone by 1,000 to 1.
I'd like to see them try with him.
Yeah, with him. Or with anyone else who's going to shoot back. You're not even allowed to have guns, man.
This was great. Wild Barrel wants to fight. Wild Barrel uses takedown. War fainted.
War fainted.
If you see this,
it was super effective.
If you see this episode, it's so funny. And Wolf just goes down instantly. You're like, what?
It's like, what the fuck?
That was a plastic barrel. What the hell? Didn't bother.
He's the confetti Klingon. He's made out of marshmallows.
It's not
he goes down every time.
It's not called the Worf effect for nothing.
What are you waiting for? Go kill him, Worf. Okay.
You actually.
She needs him. Cucked. Sharing is caring. She's with me when she comes home. Still a Democrat. God, he looks so sad.
Yeah.
He has this dopey
look. They all do. Everybody who got a wife like this, they all look like they're in constant emotional, psychological pain because they are. These people, like Steve, they are narcissistic relationships. And to heal from that takes a long time, a lot of comprehension, and usually a competent therapist, which are not always available. By the way, Dr. Ramani just got out a new book, which is a great foundational work. Check it out.
Here is the thing I was trying to reference to the mini-boss fight with Ellie in the first game. You were thinking of when Ellie had to kill David. David's backstory in the game is that he was a cannibalistic pedo, not a communist, short and sweet. Oh, sorry.
Still deserved it.
Yeah, I clearly got that one wrong. Jesus. Okay. Star Trek Worf and the Blue Barrel. Mr. Worf, you are a new chief security officer. Aye, Captain. I take this great responsibility very seriously. I have already reviewed and devised all the ship's security protocols. You have my personal assurance that the Enterprise security staff is prepared for any possible threat. And then,
bam!
Da, 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 da. Yeah, it's done.
Opening credits.
Tea time with Mr. Worf. A man once told me, time heals all wounds. So I stabbed him. Now we wait. I hate ruffles. Those stupid ridges ruin everything, and then Worf is triggered.
Is that a challenge, Captain?
I would roughly agree.
Hey Worf, how do you use the pizza? That is a
yeah, not a pizza cart.
That is so stupid.
I would trust Wesley to try that.
Whenever Steve says anything, no offense, but it sounds like some fucking comic gobbledygook.
Oh, rest in peace, Norm.
I remember that interview. It was the weirdest because it was just him sitting down with those other guys from was it SNL or what was the movie they were covering?
I forget, but I remember that moment vividly when he said this.
Yeah, I've rewatched this a couple of weeks ago, and for like, oh yeah, she's actually just babbling nonsense.
Yeah.
It's just these rehearsed lines and no thought between her ears. It's just parroting of stuff.
All the food is gone, comrade. We are starving. It's over. No more resource inequality.
Uh-huh.
Yep, that's how it works.
Free
Once everyone is dead, everyone is equal.
This is great. Free housing, vibrant, gay culture, diversity through the roof, and then it's a jail.
Yeah. Works best in El Salvador.
Dear
God.
For adoption, it doesn't bother me or anything. It's just that I don't understand how he could kill that big rat. And the truth is that it scares me. Today, it was the rat. Tomorrow, it could be me.
Cats can be scary.
Chat cat. That cat is gonna be a Dark Souls boss when it grows up.
It's gonna be the counterpart. It's gonna be the next great Grey Wolf Sith.
I guess people have never heard of carnivores before. They're called cats. Dad, I think I'm non-binary. You're not. You just spend too much time on TikTok. Uninstall it and you'll feel better. Thanks, Dad. That was great advice.
God damn it! If only it was that easy.
Is it?
I wish it was that
great.
I wish it was that easy.
I heard this week that the states are banning TikTok, or they might be having a bill that will ban TikTok in the states.
That would.
Yeah, Pelosi said one of the dumbest things ever. Again.
What?
Remind me.
It's not to make it. It's not to ban TikTok. It's to make TikTok better. Make it tic-tac-toe.
Who said this?
Nancy Pelosi.
It's neither to make TikTok stronger, nor is it to give any power to ban other shit. There's nothing in the bill about that, except one little thing that I should be amended. But other than that, no, it's just to ban TikTok. Goddamn.
Ban it, for fuck's sake. It's just a Chinese propaganda tool.
Sir Isaac Newton mentioned, therefore, we must have a picture of Sir Isaac Newton in the meme.
That's okay. That's perfectly fine.
Daydreams about chicks with dicks? What?
What?
Ugh.
Oh, then you have to show Abby.
What even is that?
Get it away! Get it away!
I still don't know what that is even supposed to be.
RoboCop is anti-police. You're retarded. I don't mean it theoretically, metaphorically, rhetorically, or in any other way. You're retarded straight up.
Yeah.
I think I rewatched that this week.
That is very tiny clips from RoboCop.
Yeah.
He's too small.
Oh, Darkman ripped off RoboCop. I actually watched Darkman. Yeah, you're right. It is very similar. When I thought about the conference with the guys wanted to put up real estate and they had to kill off the guy and the revenge story. Yeah, it's all there.
RoboCop's still the better movie, at least in my opinion.
Oh, Darkman's pretty, violent and creepy, but adult for sure.
Which one came out first?
Oh, RoboCop for sure. Yeah.
RoboCop did come out first. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing Darkman in theaters actually when I was a kid. I don't know how I got in, but
okay, that one went past me. I don't think it ever ran in Germany, which is strange because we got some of the more obscure ones like Meteor Man.
Oh my god!
Oh,
I love that movie.
I love that moment in the Family Guy episode. It's like, yes. The XLK.
Remember in the movie RoboCop when corporate America aids criminals and helps incite riots so they can lower property values and then buy up the city while privatizing the city's police force? Haha, science fiction is crazy.
Well, yeah.
Man, all these changes happened under Democrats, didn't they?
Okay, that is a quick sketch of
a new
that's
thing for Whisp.
Yeah,
I like that.
Oh, this is neat. I can't read that whole. Oh man, I love it.
The Godzilla one.
I don't know what this one is.
Is it the Godzilla one from Rotom, or
I think it's the Godzilla one.
Well, it is Godzilla, but this is Gigan.
Oh, okay. Cool. It's nice art.
Well, yeah, no, but yeah.
Where did this come from? Iron Man. Dies, still forced to come to work. Yeah.
He's the law, of course.
Danielle Macari, medical technology project manager at automation company Franca Amica, demonstrates a COVID swab test conducted by a robot.
No, thank you.
Jeez.
Yeah, no.
They also turned out to be completely fraudulent.
Yep.
Remember
you cannot test anything with that.
Remember when RoboCop shot that dude in the dick?
Now we do.
Oh God! It was through the dress of the girl and the guy.
Real or not, this is funny either way.
Yeah, I don't think this is real, but that's hilarious. That they would consider making a doll and they actually sold that, but yeah.
Meanwhile, the Crow is just RoboCop for gods.
Not really. I wouldn't go that.
I don't even know what the Crow is.
Well, it's a story of revenge, but it's not quite the same.
Oh, just because it's a story of revenge, really?
Well, in that regard, it's probably closer to Darkman, but yeah. Cyrek, who the hell puts the milk in before the cereal? Ginga, that's valid.
It's valid.
Rotom, just do what I do and eat it without milk. Oh,
which is also valid.
Yeah, yes, it makes for actually cheap potato chip replacement.
A nice little snack, yeah. The Ubermensch.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he does present himself that way.
Well, yeah, he's perfect.
That's why this works.
He is above all of us. His knowledge is far exceeding all of us. He doesn't need to talk to anyone. Why would he? He's right.
So here's Steve saying, "I'm perfect at every way," and then the one beside it is a video.
You shut the fuck up! You shut the fuck up! You.
Okay, I'm not gonna play that anymore. We don't need Markiplier with that meme. That's too much.
It's basically a meme. It's just telling Steve to shut up.
There's Scott Bakula in that. Well, he had a lot of good episodes in that show. So, Quantum Leap. You know, even for it shows its age, but it's still cool. It's still a cool show. Fact of the day. Art in one definition means to make. So when people say art is political, what they really mean to make political. My God, it all makes sense now.
My God, it all makes sense now. Yeah, it does, honestly.
I wouldn't attribute to that definition, but
there is some logic to it, though.
What am I looking at, Rotom? What is this?
The hell is this laughing shadow?
Yeah, I don't understand this counter meme.
All right. Keep going. If you still remember this scene from RoboCop 2, then you had an awesome childhood.
That was unfortunately before my time, but I do remember seeing it at some point.
Expectation, reality. No, RoboCop comes in a lot of different versions on the police force. There's that they still use the walking dogs from was it Boston Dynamics?
They actually employ those.
Yeah.
Terror bots.
Yeah, they're terrifying.
Oh my God!
You think they're cute, but they come at you at 40K. You're like, holy crap! They're gonna.
And you can't even knock them over. They just get up again.
Make it more tactical. Let's go with black. What is this scene from?
Batman.
But it's because Michael Keaton is the one saying those lines.
Oh. RoboCop 1987. RoboCop kills numerous people, even though Asimov's laws of robotics aren't part of this world, but should prevent a robot from harming humans. This is a reference to the fact that laws don't actually apply to cops.
Well, he's not a straight-up robot. We know that for a fact.
He's just over. RoboCop is not a robot.
When Whisp says to go read it, We by Evgeny Semyatin. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to get to this book, still working on it. The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett.
Really?
Great. Keep at it.
A good one, I assume?
Oh my god. You have
Terry
no
Pratchett's
clue.
awesome. Yeah, he's pretty good.
You have lost the treasure of humanity. You have missed out on the treasure of humanity. Not indulged in the wonders that are the Discworld novels.
Well, yes, I have missed that. I can at least admit it.
All right. Well, that was...
if you can't find the time to read, get an audiobook.
That was several parts anger and depression and just sighs for the lack of humanity in this person who believes himself to be better than everyone else. It's kind of frightening, actually, that this guy has a fan base that believes in what he... And if you go to the comments, they all sort of agree with him. It's kind of weird. The last time I talked to conservatives talking about Star Trek, I was like, blah, blah. It's like, really?
When did he talk to a conservative?
Well, these are people in the comments, not him personally.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah,
But he...
Like I've had friends all over the spectrum that love Star Trek, love sci-fi, and sometimes they're hardcore sci-fi. They only read like Asimov and the big names, and they look at Star Trek like a joke. And compared to the...
But how often would they reread those?
Well, they read them once. Everyone has to read Asimov. That's kind of the given. And you base everything, like even Banks, you compare Banks and Asimov. Okay, the Foundation and the Culture series, you go, all right, very similar, but big, epic stories, a lot of ideas. And then you go from there. And you can go to the smaller short story novels in the 70s and 60s if you really want.
A little bit of Dickinson.
Sure, yeah. You know, even Pratchett's good. Like he does great fantasy that you won't get anywhere else.
Pratchett is philosophy through comedy.
Yeah,
that's how I would portray him.
Right. I mean, it's entertaining. So even if you don't get into it, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, I could follow along. It's entertaining enough to keep going." But I'm not going to list all kinds of books you should read. There's great versions of ideas that you might have already had in science fiction, already explained out in wonderful detail. And if not, then that's your opportunity to write. And you should share those ideas with people who actually know a little bit more and can help you out. Someone like Steve would not perhaps provide the best insight into ideas because of his very strict and closed world that he keeps himself in. And I'm sure he knows Star Trek to some degree, but he'll explain it in a very biased way. If he cannot grasp that there are episodes, this is not even an analytical problem. This is just, if you just saw episodes of Star Trek of any series and realize, oh, this is a Wesley Crusher episode, it's not political. Or this is a Beverly Crusher episode, it's not political. You know, or this is a Troy episode, it's not political. There's so many of those which have nothing to do with politics. So, terrifying stuff. And at least this gives us the opportunity to exercise our tolerance for people like Steve. Because we will sit by and listen, as much, I don't want to, but we will sit by and listen to his crazy remarks. And go, if only Steve was more open-minded. If only Steve was less biased or less egotistical. Or...
he's a saint.
Or just went, wait a second, maybe I'm wrong. Let me get a second opinion and ask someone who disagrees with me what they think. If you just did that, you might not make a friend, but at least you'll get a different insight. And maybe you could contemplate that, why they think that way. Anyway.
If you ask me, it feels like he's just so close to blacklist status at this point.
Well,
it's close.
No,
it's not.
no.
Just from that.
It's not like he's a pervert, right? It's not like he's saying insanely crazy stuff.
He's not a sadistic psychopath.
Oh yeah,
like we've covered before.
He's a nice guy. He's a guy who'd never harm a fly, but he's just so biased, like completely biased, that everything he says is either going to be seen as a farce and we can laugh at him, or if we take it seriously and go, does Steve actually think this? And he runs with it, and you're like, oh, I guess he thinks this. So it's a bit sad. Anyway, let's go relax, go get a drink, exercise, take a nap, whatever you do
Read
in the
a
evening.
book.
Reading is good too. Yeah. That's a great idea. Anyway, I gotta go relax. This is gotta restore my faith in humanity again. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure it out. So I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Maybe tomorrow's video, hopefully.
Maybe we'll do something new. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Yeah.
But
Anyway, have a great evening. Take it easy, and good night.
Good night.